everybody, and welcome to this ad hoc, totally surprised stream that I have decided to do, basically because I'm going to be doing it. And I thought, well, there might be some benefit, but at the same time, it might just be cool and fun to hang out and chat whilst I'm going through the process of creating the battle maps for the book Epic Battlemaps. Now, we have successfully funded, and that whole process has gone through this. So the Kickstarter is over, and we're really amazed at what we had in terms of responses from that. So that's fantastic. But we had planned out all of the maps, and then what happened was Dungeon Fog, who are our partner on this project, they updated the software. They went from version 3 to version 5. Thank you very much. It's very much an improvement on what we had in version 3, not from a product quality, but from a workflow and from what we can do in terms of that workflow. So I thought, well, I'm going to be sitting doing this stuff. I enjoy your company. I miss my live streams, I do admit. And why not? Let's hang out and chat. So I'm going to be working through the map that we're going to be making. Now, I don't have 30 maps to make because I have been making the maps as I've been going along over the course of the last couple of months on the Kickstarter. But I do have a battle plan. This is it, very loosely. I wasn't allowed to share it with you folks because they're just my blueprints, right? They're very rough kind of blueprints. So I'm going to be choosing one for us to do today. I'm going to try and do these streams, by the way, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays until all of the maps are done. So, you know, will it always be at this time? Maybe it might be an hour later. Maybe it will be at the same time. But I have to do a map a day at the very least. And so there we are. So if you can make it, that's great. If you've got questions, if you've got comments, I've got the chat open. And there you go. We can chat and see what's going on. I see Lance Pickett's already in chat. I see Sheena Tiger Spielt is in chat as well. So that's fantastic. We're just going to hang out and chat and talk. And sometimes I won't talk. It is a live studio. So if I get a phone call, you know, if that one person who knows me phones me, then I will answer it, and we'll go to a holding screen or something, and you grab coffee or not. And yes, if you've got questions, just go for it. SW Want Gamer is having breakfast. I had a fantastic breakfast this morning. So good, in fact, I actually can't remember. Oh, I had toast. Yes. That's boring. It's breakfast. Isn't that mundane? I hate that part about life, by the way. All right. While I'm before I start waxing lyrical, and Drug Dwarf points out that I have at least one friend. Yeah, I've got at least one. I think I've got at least one. Andrew Foster. Yeah, it is lunchtime here in the UK, and I had a great lunch. I must admit, I really did. What did I have? Toast. Yes. Okay, good. So now you can see my healthy diet. Right. So we're going to be doing map number 11, which is rather mysteriously titled Mysterious Underwater Cove. Now, yeah, it's going to be an interesting challenge. Now, something to bear in mind, and this is I'll mention this a couple of times during the stream because it's going to be quite a long stream. I'm probably going to take 4 hours, if not longer. And I think something that's really important to point out with this particular stream is that I have used Dungeon Fog a lot. So if you have questions, please ask them. I will be happy to answer them for you. Lance Pickett, why are you up at 6 a.m. in the morning? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, why are you watching this stream at 6 a.m. in the morning? So there you are. Sci-Bi, eggs on toast. I had boiled eggs on toast. It's pretty damn good, I must say. Okay, so we're going to be doing this mysterious underwater cave or cove, and the blueprint that I have is particularly boring. It literally just shows a trench-like thing. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? Let's have a look. Yeah, it doesn't focus. So this is it. This is cove. That is literally my entire battle plan. Now, something that I have to bear in mind is that there is a giant spine. Let me get the book. And I'm not trying. I'm not trying to sell you more of these books because you can't get them at the moment, unless you were on the Kickstarter. So there will be pre-order at some point, but not yet. So this is the book. This is the mock-up. And what I have to bear in mind when I'm designing is that there's a great big spine in the middle. So when you open out a map, any map, so let's take this map for example. There's a spine there. So if you look at this design of the ship, which I did for the mock-up, it folds out into the big ship itself, right? But there is that spine there. So when I'm designing the map, I have to bear that in mind, that there will be this dividing line, and you don't want to put any important information onto that. So that's what's important. That's something that I have to take into account. So if you sort of see me doing that, that is why I'm doing that, for that specific purpose. Yes. Okay. So let me carry on then with this. Let's actually get started. And here we are. So yes, it's lunchtime for me. Absolutely. No, 6 a.m. for Lance Pickett. That's why I say that's very early. But I see that there's a friend who is having surgery. So I do wish them all the best in that. So there you are. Okay. Right. So what have I got set up for you here? I have got this set up for you here. As you can see, that's my Discord, which does not help you. I set up the wrong screen. So give me a second here. You know, when you think you think you've been doing this for how long, you should be able to get it right. Is that the wrong? Hang on a moment. What am I doing here? I thought I had set it up. I really did. My apologies. Give me a second here. Yeah, remove that. Let's go here. And let's go there. Right, good. Okay, now it's set up properly. Now I can drop studio mode and I can go here. Good. Okay, right. Wouldn't be a live stream if there wasn't a technical fault, would there? So that's me down here in the little box. This is my little space down here. I'm actually, I think, for the purposes of this demonstration, I think it would be better if I were down here. Now, I'm sorry that I have to do a profile, but I had to move my camera. Let's just see. Yeah, so I need a little bit more space on this side. A little bit less space on that side. So you can see when I talk to you, hopefully you can still see my face. If you really wanted to. I mean, okay, let's actually, you know what? This is actually too big here. Let's just cut that down. Just go away, go away. All right, good. Okay, so... right. Yes, let's see. Right, Dazzlecat. Hello, Dazzlecat. I hope everyone is good. Hello, DM Stretch. And yeah, that should be fine. Just don't lean too forward. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll be sitting here for the majority of it. Okay, so I have created my canvas. This is the specific size that we need for print. For the layout of the book, and so this is where I'm going to be working on. Now, I have certain routines that I go through with Dungeon Fog, and they had to be updated with version 5. And I must admit, when version 5 first came out, it was like running a new version of Dungeons and Dragons. Like, but all the things should be here. Yes, but now you do it in a slightly different way. It's a slightly different name. So I had to get used to that. So, very first thing that I do is I go up here and I rename my level straight away. And this is Mysterious Cove. Mysterious Cove. Okay, good. And then press enter to commit that. I then go and change my grid. Automatically, I drop it down to like 8% opacity. I know that my floor is going to be changing. And then I change the floor texture. Now, this is where I find Dungeon Fog is super powerful, and the new features are even better. Now, I am not trying to sell Dungeon Fog, okay? I don't need to. If you don't have it, you're not a map maker. If you're a map maker, then I don't know why you wouldn't have it, right? So I'm not trying to do that. I'm just using that program. So that is it, okay? Dungeon Fog. And if you do want to buy it, I have to do this because I would be remiss if I didn't. Use the code GreatGM for a discount on a dungeonfog.com subscription, okay? So there we go. All right, I posted it up on the stream. So dungeonfog.com, that's the software that I'm using. And yes, I mean, I absolutely do adore them. I really do adore them because they've been so integrated and everything in terms of this whole process. Okay, now, some things that are going to be a little bit different for you under normal circumstances is that you'll notice that my size of my grid is 300. That's 300 DPI. Now, we have to do that for the print purpose. If we do it any less, then it gets aliased and it gets awful. It gets blocky and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to work at 300 DPI. Now, that does put a huge strain on the system because obviously it's not meant to work at that. If you are using Dungeon Fog for VTT, if you're using it online for Roll20 and all that kind of stuff, you only need to work at 75. So we're not working at double. We're working at almost what? Triple, quadruple. I don't know what the maths is like. That's why I don't do the maths. We're working at a really high value. So you'll notice that when I zoom in on this grid, at 100%, the texture is really small. The texture is small, but the grid is really, really big because we're at 300 DPI. So we're working around that kind of space. Okay. So that's the only other thing that would be slightly different if you were working on your own is that. Okay. Right. Okay. Writers joined the stream. How is Germany this afternoon? No, not Germany. Vienna, isn't it? Not Vienna. Austria. Okay. Cove. Exotic cove. Now yes, exotic cove underwater. So underwater is an interesting space. I always try and find my basic underwater texture. Or the underlying texture for the entire floor first. I don't sort of leave it or wait. I work in this process, so it's the floor first. And let's see here. We're going to go to dirt, which is under... they keep moving things around because they're updating and upgrading, which is brilliant. So let's go brown clay, which incidentally was the name of my short film that I did when I was studying at university filmmaking, and it was called Brown Clay. So I only just realized that now. Okay, brown clay is my kind of default go-to. It's quite a nice sort of texture, but we are underwater, so we have some options. We could make it a sandy cave. We could make it sandy, like it's semi-tropical. I think that could be quite fun, actually, because I was initially thinking a dark, deep cave, but I think we should just make this, it's in the shallows of a lagoon somewhere or within a reef. I think that could be visually quite interesting. Adrian, it's nice to see you again. I haven't seen you in a while, and enjoy your breakfast, as I'm sure you will be. And yes, all you early birds. That was something I had to adjust moving to a first world country, as a matter of fact, from South Africa. South Africa, your wake up time was 6 a.m. whether you liked it or not. It seems to be here in first world. It seems to be sort of more about sort of 7ish or 8ish actually. Anyway, yeah. So Mortimer Beersaig says lagoon. I agree. Okay, I quite like. I'm busy looking at these textures here. I think this one, is it that one? No, I think this one is going to work the best. So if I zoom in now, see we get sort of a pebbly type of look, but I'm not happy with that size. I'm going to scale it up to 300 because I can. Yeah, I think that could be the bottom of a lagoon. Now, I know I said sandy, so this is my base, and this is what really for me has fundamentally changed in my whole work process is using and working and manipulating the brush system within Dungeon Fog. So, Letabo, nice greetings from South Africa. I hope it's not too hot there this afternoon. Okay, so let's see. We've got our basic. Now I'm going to fill it in with the brushes. So if you haven't started playing around with the brushes, they have really changed quite dramatically. And that's not big enough. Let's do it a bit bigger. No, too big. Something like that. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to go for that sand texture because they've got some lovely big sand dune type stuff. Okay, so I'm going to do this. And you might be saying, but shouldn't you be drawing the cave first? How do you know where to put down the sand? And this is why Dungeon Fog is in a different workspace as far as I'm concerned. And I will get there. Okay, so as far as my map is concerned, we basically have this sort of shape. The entrance to the cave is on this side. So I'm going to be drawing a negative space. This is what the cave is sort of going to look like. Okay, except that this is all rock. This outer edge is all rock, and the inner part is going to be the actual cave itself. Now, again, this is just plotting out sort of basic shapes. And so there's going to have a sandy entrance. I think that could be quite nice. But we want some detailing in there. And so I'm going to do something like that. This is too strong, obviously. So I'm going to knock this down. So we get to about there-ish. Okay. I think it might be a little bit small or big. Let's have a look. If we go to 300... There we go. Morning coffee. Adrian, thank you so much. I do appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. Okay, cool. So let's see. 300% scaling I think doesn't look too bad. What I'm now going to do is switch and just play around and see which one looks better. And I think sand dune with pebble looks better. It does. I'm still a little bit worried about seeing so much coming through in terms of the texture underneath. Okay, so I'm going to finish this brush, and now I'm going to go with another brush, which I'm going to use the different dunes for. Let's say this one might work. It's smaller. It's at 150%. We're going to knock down that opacity a little bit. And I'm now going to come in, and this is, you're looking at this and you're going, well, what's different from how the brushes used to work? Ugh, that's an awful sand texture. It's really not, I mean, it's not drawn awfully, it's just very, very small at the moment. Okay, so now I've got to go into edit here and select the texture. Let's have a look at 300%. Let's have a look at 300%. Better, but not blowing my hair back. Let's have a look. Small little pebbles. Yeah, that could work. Dried cracked dirt. No, we're going away from sand dunes now. We're going to go back to sand dunes. This is starting to look a little bit more interesting, a bit more of what I'm trying to go for here. Let's knock its opacity down just a little bit. A little bit more. Yes, absolutely. We're making an underwater lagoon cave. aka, yeah, with Dumbledore and Harry retrieving the locket. That's better. Yes, this is nicer, DM Stretch. Absolutely, you're quite right. So, what I also do, and this is the part that when they brought it out, it's like, oh my goodness, yes, this is me getting really excited. Is I can go into my stack and I can now find my two brushes, and I can go, well, let's just have a look and see what it looks like reversed. Oh, that doesn't look terrible. Which one looks better? With it on or with it off? I think with it on is better, with it above the stack. I hope you can see that very subtle variation going on there. But yes, and let's see. So yeah, it's looking okay. It's looking okay. Something that I will be doing, and you might be going, well, why am I doing these brushes first? It's because I can come and edit them later on. So I now just want to get some stone texture, just a little bit more in sort of the. Remember, a lot of this is about experimenting, and sort of seeing what works and what doesn't work. This doesn't work, of course, because it's got that sort of green shrubbery in there. If we were doing a desert, that would work quite well. But we don't want that, so we're going to go here, and let's see. This is just regular sand. It's called. No, that's a little bit moving away from what I'm looking for. No, too many stones, if that makes sense. I don't want more sand dunes. We've got enough sand in there now. Dry cracked soil with pebbles sounds quite nice. Just dry cracked soil. Yeah, I think that could work. I'm going to change the size up. Yeah, that's it. That's the one. So now when I look at that, I go, okay, cool. But now I go to my stack, grab this. I'm going to move dry cracked soil underneath the sand dunes and possibly underneath the main dunes themselves. Yes, there we go. Now, when I then go and select dry crack soil, I can then do this, and I'll just feather it out a little bit in the edges, in the detail sort of sections. And it's about, this for me is where the brushes really shine, is that it's just adding in a little bit of extra detailing into that sand. So we're starting to get something that's working really too well. And as Ben Wall says, it's like, it is very tempting to put a sarlacc into that sand dune, or some skeletons, or that sort of thing. So I do like that. Thomas Tate says, great GM is not working on the Dungeon Fog subscription. That's odd. Let me just double check. I have Dungeon Fog on dial-up here. Someone says great GM isn't working. Before I do that, Thomas Tates, could you try it with a gap in between? So it might be great great spaz GM, great space GM. Could you try that before I send Dungeon Fog a rude letter? And let's just double check on that. Okay, cool. Right, so I'm happy with this basic sandy kind of stuff. And then we can then go and have a look at that. So the sand is now kind of in place. I'm happy with that. Now we're going to draw the cave system. Now I'm going to save first. Okay, I'm going to save first, and this is something that I have learned with the new version of Dungeon Fog, especially at the scale at which I'm doing stuff at 300 DPI. I save frequently because Chrome often actually runs out of memory. So I did not know this. Your Chrome web browser has a certain capacity for OpenGL stuff, and once it reaches that maximum, it then just stops working, and it just errors out, and you have to close it down and empty out all the memory and then open it back up again. So that is something to bear in mind. We'll also balance out the colors a little bit. The sand dune is very yellow. Those pebbles are very orange. So we'll come in and we'll play with that. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to use their next technique, which is, I believe, very experimental, which I like. Okay. To make the cave. Now, I have not done a cave this way before. I may very well have to end up deleting it, but I want to try because I think it could be really cool. This is their option of converting a object, a shape that you draw, into a room. Now, the biggest challenge that I've always had with Dungeon Fog when drawing caves is that you have to click your space. So you end up with some oftentimes very rigid angles, and you don't necessarily want that to happen. So this new technique is you freeform draw. As you can see, I've got this circle here, and at the moment it's a snapping to grid, but if I deselect that, I can then draw any shape I like, okay, and fill it in because we want it to be nice and solid. I'm going to fill it in, and it now creates that shape. Now it's black because that is the shape texture that I chose. Okay, but once I select it, there is this convert to room experimental option. Now at the moment it will be creating hundreds of vertex points to create this more organic look, but it will look more organic. So I'm going to be trying to do that one out. So there you are. I see Elarakth DM. You're asking about, do I have YouTube videos on me using Dungeon Fog? I do, but I would actually recommend that you go to Dungeon Fog's YouTube channel. I have done all of their tutorials for them on their channel. So head on over to Dungeon Fog on YouTube and you'll find it there. So yeah. Now, Lars Pickett Mays, a guy is actually getting better with tech. Then again, he would really have to try hard to get worse. Oh, Lars, you magical muppet. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in now. Enough waxing lyrical about that kind of stuff. So this is the other thing, right? Is these battle maps that I'm creating, and any map that you are creating, as far as I'm concerned, when you are creating a map, the critical thing is to make sure that you are utilizing as much of your canvas as you can, and trying to move away from just working in that format, because oftentimes you look at the map and you go, okay, it's a long rectangle, so I'm going to have a long rectangular cave. Yes, that's fine, but you have an opportunity to do more. And so I feel that you should be doing more with that space. So if I look at this, if I turn this black area into a space, and I go, okay, cool, that's my working space. Is that an interesting use Is that an interesting use of the space? I don't think it is. So this is something that I like to do when I'm not building rooms, when I'm building organic shapes. I've changed the color now to blue, so I can come in here and say, okay, well, if that's the cave space, I have a 1-inch block, so one block around the circumference of this map. It gets cut off because of the printing and the editing. You don't have to worry about that when you're doing a VTT, of course. So that's great. But I do have to worry about that. So I have to imagine everything with a 1-inch cutoff around the edge. So when I look at this, this is 3 inches into the map of this cave wall, right? That's a loss of 3 inches of playable space. Maybe I can do something in that room. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to edit that in a little bit. But how do I continue finishing this off? Well, it is a cave that we're supposed to be doing. Shinotama says, unless you're using a large format printer, which is edgeless. Well, yes, unfortunately, the process that we use for creating the book, there is always a bleed edge and a cutoff. And I've always had that as well in the printing processes that I've been aware of. Yes, there is always a bleed, and it's just something to get used to. It also helps you reframe in your mind how you're going to be doing all of this. Oh, Adrian, there we go, on the clock. Have a good one. Thank you so much for joining us. AK Writer says, what exactly do you have in mind for this map? Lagoon in a cave? Well, it's a cave in a lagoon. So it is underwater. So we're going to get there. We're going to get to underwater. And we're going to make it look like it's underwater. But that's in the grand scheme of things, that is how it stacks up. So in terms of my process, so I start as if it wasn't underwater, and then I go to the water process. And I have discovered a very nice new water texture that Dungeon Fog added, I think like last week, which is really cool. It looks really, really great. And if we work with it properly, we'll get there. But we're going to get there. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. This is a long process. Who drank all my coffee? Oh, don't panic. Okay, I can get more coffee. I can. Why have I chosen blue? Because now with blue, I can come in here and start to say, okay, well, this has got to be a grotto where the party would arguably have been sent to, let's say, find a treasure or something. I don't know. It could be used as a battle sequence. So we want to give a good amount of space for combat. But we don't want to give a huge amount of space for combat. I know that sounds contradictory. But when you're creating a map, if you create a map that's to scale, right? If you created a football stadium and you had the characters at one end of the football stadium and you were at the other end of the football stadium, and you're like, combat started, it's going to take you a good 30, 40, 50 seconds, depending on who you are and how fit you are, to get to that section of the stadium to have combat. It's a waste of time. You don't need it to be that big. Maybe you wanted to simulate that it's that big, but you don't need it to be that big. At the same time, if it's a 4x4 square and everyone is on a square and there's nowhere for them to move, then it's not as interesting either. So we have to look at how do we make it a more interesting map. And that's by creating these spaces. Okay, so there's another room. I'm going to create another room over here. I'm just plotting out what my workable space is at the moment. Okay, because like I said, I did a quick sketch just to check how everything works. I suspect one of my layers here, I suspect this brush is set to, it is indeed, look at that, classic mistake. This brush is set to above the walls. That's why it's showing up above the object that I am creating there. So I'm just going to go and select them all. Doing this the wrong way. I should just go into my stack, but I'm lazy. So there we go. All right, now they're not above the walls. Okay. And then I think we just need a last one. And let's make that green so we can see where we are. And then this would be the other edge. Okay. So when working in Dungeon Fog as well. Oh, why has that done that? Oh, because it made a new because I'm thinking it's a brush tool. It is not a brush tool. Okay, so yes. The cat has joined. He's been following the cursor. Very nice. If I look at that, I go, okay, all right, well, that's boring. You've got a beach section here on the left, which is no real difference tactically than this internal area here. And you can see that I started to play around going, well, if this blue area has a little room in there, that could be more engaging. So yeah, maybe that could work. I'm not convinced. I'm just worried that it's like, why create a map? Why draw a map? Why put minis onto the map? Why put tokens on the map if there's not going to be anything of interest in that map to warrant having to visualize it? That's another reason. I mean, yes, the map looks nice and it looks pretty and the players can see the characters relative to each other, but it's still boring. Drug dwarf whelp looks like the map is complete. No. So we've got to be a little bit more creative. We've got to be a bit more interesting in terms of how we are going to make this grotto. I think that let's see. Sorry, I'm just getting stuck in all the questions here. Joe Quick says, wouldn't you make your map larger to accommodate the bleed edge? So really, it's 2 inches instead of 3 that you mentioned. Well, the reason why we work with an extra inch around the entire edge, I am taking that into account. So like this room, for example, here, this blue room, that is actually unacceptable. I would need to go in here. Again, this is what I like about the new features. You can edit the shapes once you've made them. So I now know that this little space here would be within the print margin. This might be a little bit on the edge, but at the same time, you know, printers, there's room, there's give and take. So you've got to take all of that into account when you are doing these things. Okay, right. So underwater, the big problem with putting obstacles underwater is that it's a 3-dimensional environment. So you can just swim over it or around it or underneath it, as the case might be. So whereas if this was a regular cave, we could make it much more interesting by having lava flow around the edges, or having great big pits that characters could fall into. So we've got to look at it from the perspective of, okay, what are some of the challenges of underwater stuff? Where does it get interesting when we are talking about those kind of combats? And for me, I think the part that gets really interesting is the fact, and this is maybe my personal fear, is very narrow spaces and getting stuck in them. It freaks me I cannot tell you. I cannot tell you. It's swimming in a narrow passageway and getting stuck down there and then running out of oxygen. I think it must be one of the worst ways of perishing. So I can see there's some suggestions in chat. 2x Cross says underwater caves have strong currents through them. Absolutely, yes they do. From a mapping perspective, yes, we could indicate strong current coming through. Absolutely. So we could do some strong currents that would make it difficult or hazardous terrain or difficult terrain for the characters to move around in. We certainly could do that. We've got clouds of jellyfish, says AK Writer. I couldn't agree with you more. Clouds of jellyfish certainly makes sense. There are some things that I can't do because this is a commercial map. And that would be including jellyfish, for example. That would be adding monsters into the environment, which is not the purview of what the books are about. Once I've done the map, though, I could certainly go in, and if I was using this in my own VTT, I would then make the tokens for jellyfish, and I could do that. I think that's a great idea, yes. So what I'm thinking about is the constriction, the narrow passageway. And what that will mean is, if the players swim into this cave, and there's a big monster in there, or there's clouds of jellyfish, or there's all those kinds of horrendous things, swimming out of it is going to be a who goes last. because they are the ones that are going to get sucked back in again, attacked and that sort of thing. So it makes an interesting situation in terms of turn order and that sort of thing. So there's definitely that. Underwater grass, says Mortimer. It could be poisonous. Yes, absolutely. That's a trap. So technically that would be that could be added to the map. Completely agree with you. Rockfall, says Lance. Completely agree. Absolutely. A very large eel. Yes, absolutely. Eels. So yeah. An air pocket that's filled with methane, says DM Stretch. Yeah, that's just mean. That's mean. All right. So with that in mind, I can put in my last color here. And I'm going to say, actually, we're going to do something along the lines. Now, I'm drawing a negative space here, and I won't be doing that for the actual cave, but this is just to help me. This is my sketch, if you like. So we're going to have this narrow passageway, which is not more than 5 foot. 5 foot. I think that's going to be absolutely fine. And so we've got this little channel here. I wonder if it couldn't be a little bit more exciting. So if we made it a little bit longer and we brought that cave out to there, I think that would make it quite daunting. I think that would make it a lot more interesting, actually. And so there we are. Okay, now I'm fearing for all those paladins out there getting stuck in caves. Yeah, because there's no, you know, poison resistance is great and all that sort of stuff, but yeah. Clusters of stalagmites. Yes, Latabo, absolutely right. Stalagmites certainly would be a risk in a cave underwater. It's a risk in a cave as well. So I like to go, okay, yeah, absolutely, we could do that. We could do a combination thereof as well. That could certainly work. Something along those lines. And someone has just shouted Boaty. Bot. Oh, bot. At Great GM. Yes. In Twitch. Brain went dead there. Sorry about that. Okay, right. So I think that this is going to work in terms of that. I think that's absolutely fine. So then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to edit this one. Again, this is what I love, is the fact that we can go in and we can edit. I'm going to change my brush tool. I hate losing. Look at all of the space I'm going to be losing, right? Because this is all just going to be rock face. And I think that's awfully dull. So I am going to erase here up to my edge. Okay. Up to my edge, and let's do that. And I say the edge of the canvas, right? That's what I mean. I'm going to raise it up to there. Okay. Then I'm going to come to this one, and I'm going to edit this one, and I'm also going to erase this section here. Okay. Something like, actually I can just get rid of all of this nonsense, can't I? Something like that. Finish that shape. Come to this one, edit this one, minus, and sort of make the most of it. So this could be a little grotto, a little space in there. Again, just trying to utilize as much of the map as I can. I have to remember that spine is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that spine is going to be coming right through there. Right through there. So you know what? In that case then, I'm going to just fill this in, because there's no point in having that room on the spine and over. It just won't look very nice. Okay, so that's going to be that room there. That's our line coming straight down there. So then we can do the same thing, I feel, here, but we will do it in reverse outside. And we're going to take a chunk of this away. Where's our spine? It was there. So we're going to take this away, and we're going to just do something like that. So we're ending up with a bit more of an interesting cave system there. And we've got a bit of a cave system there, so that's absolutely fine. Okay, then we come across to here. I've already done it in the blue there. I feel like we could do it again. If we wanted, well, we've got so little space here. We could do something like that, just cutting out, just again making an interesting shape, and then adding in so that it feels a bit more like a room. We can close that off sort of this way. Okay. Anyone see the dolphin in the middle? The dolphin in the middle. Oh, it could be a whale. I could see a whale shape, like with a little tail. So the head here and then a tail at the end. Glowing, luminescent underwater snails for lighting. Look at that, Mortimer. Brilliant. We haven't got there yet, but I do like that. I don't think Dungeon Fog's got snails, but I'm sure we can come up with something similar to that. So yes, let's definitely do that. And AK Writer's on a roll here. We've got corals with the sharp edges. A shipwreck might force them to go through below it because it's an obstacle that remains, the remains of the rig. They do have some very nice shipwrecks in Dungeon Fog, which I'm actually quite pleased to say they made specifically for my Ghost of Saltmarsh stream. They commissioned that particular set of art for that. So that's, again, I mean, how can I not like working with these guys? Yeah, so I like that. Okay, so I think we've got a bit of a space here. I feel like this red is not working for us. It's not a cave. It's just a blank wall. Now, that is not to say that every wall should do something. Not every wall has to work. But one thing that I like to do, and this is to make things dramatic. I hate straight corridors. And here's a piece of fun trivia for you. The film The Hunt for Red October, which featured Sean Connery, one of my favorite actors, Sean Connery, and Alec Baldwin, back in the day when he was a hot heartthrob, as opposed to now a comic actor genius, again, in my opinion. That film was shot supposedly on a nuclear submarine. And the mistake that the filmmakers made was not actually a mistake. The problem was they wanted that shot down the length of the nuclear sub as people are diving across, and one of those panic moments and the camera is dramatically moving through the entire submarine. They wanted that shot. So they built the submarine as a set, obviously, and then they could move the camera through that shot. The problem was that's not how nuclear submarines, or most submarines these days, are actually built. They're built in a zigzag pattern so that if water floods in, the entire central core of the submarine doesn't sink down, and you also can't shoot all the way straight down it or have things blast all the way straight down it. So it's built as a series of sort of herringbone zigzaggy type of shapes, but then you don't get a dramatic shot, you see. So when building corridors in maps, I always keep that story in the back of my head. And I then try and avoid building straight corridors. Why? Well, magic users are going to be throwing their magic 1,000 meters down the corridor. Archers are going to be firing arrows and things 1,000 meters down the corridor. And it makes it less tense. We're going to be underwater, so if we're using Dungeons & Dragons, it's going to be dark vision, 60 feet. This map is barely 60 feet. It's 25 blocks across. So what's that? It's just over 120 feet long, this entire map. So one character would be able to see from one end all the way, half the way to the middle of the map. That's not dramatic. We want it to be dramatic. So if you put in turns and corners and blind ends, it starts to make the map much more tense, because you move the characters down and it's like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. So yeah, there we are. Sci-Bi saying they did that in the trenches in the World Wars as well. Absolutely. Yes, contain explosions from mortars and all that kind of wonderful stuff. So you see, there you go. Absolutely. Look at this wonderful stuff that history can teach us. So yes. You want to get rid of that bot, but I can't. Not a mod here, says DM Stretch. Is it really bothering you? Should I open up Twitch and just sort of make it go? Is it posting a lot? Because I haven't seen a lot of those things coming through. Hendropolis says, love your videos on YouTube and backed your Kickstarter. Thank you so very much. I really do appreciate that. You're going to see the craziness that goes into building these things. So there you are. It has only posted once so far. And there you are. So let's see. Okay. Right. I needed to talk to finish off. I need to actually do these maps. I didn't realize it was going to take me that long. So I'm going to just do this. Okay. I think that makes for a more dramatic moment, possibly. Yep, something like that. Okay, cool. I think that's given us a much more interesting space, this long, narrow corridor. They can't see what's ahead. They can't see what's ahead. They still can't see what's ahead. And then suddenly there's something here. And if they go to the left, then there's something that's waiting for them in there. And in here, they've got some interesting space. There's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 40 foot by 40 foot. Is that right? Yeah, something like that. Space. So that's okay. We're kind of sticking to the original blueprints, which were approved by, of course, my partners who are also making the book. So, yes, there you are. Right. Now, this is always a question that I am forced to ask. And that question always is, what becomes a room and what remains a canvas? What becomes a room and what remains canvas? One of the things I used to do was I just used to put everything onto the canvas and use rooms sparingly. After working with Dungeon Fog for so long, I have discovered and been taught and shown that that's the wrong way to go. Dungeon Fog is far better at handling lots of rooms rather than one giant canvas, just in terms of how it handles memory and all the props and stuff that you're putting onto it. So the official suggestion is room, canvas to the minimum. Use the canvas for housing your rooms, which I think is interesting. So yes. Ben Walls asked the question, what's your take on cave structures that have openings of different sizes and those smaller races get to squeeze through them? Absolutely. I mean, when you start talking about having a world where you'd have diminutive races as well as large races, as well as regular sized races, why wouldn't they have multiple entrances and caves and things? I've tried to make this entrance here. It's roughly going to be about 5 foot wide. And so that's going to be a challenge for large creatures to move through. Small creatures, of course, will think it's absolutely fine. But yes, you certainly could have multiple entrances. All right, I will need some coffee. I've been speaking for just under an hour now. So I'm going to put you on the holding screen. Don't go anywhere. Listen to Darren Curtis's music. He's absolutely awesome. I will be back. Let me start the clock. And I will be back as soon as I can. Okay, I think we're all adult enough to skip a few minutes here and there. I'm back with the coffee. It takes less time than I thought it would take, as a matter of fact. Right. So, what I was talking about before I got sidetracked, as usual, is Dungeon Fog and rooms. So Dungeon Fog prefers more rooms to canvas than not, because I could just leave this and just convert this into rock face, and I would be A4 away. But it prefers rooms. So I'm now, oddly enough, going to make a new shape altogether. And I'm going to make it 1.1 as a shape. I'm going to change its color to white so we know that this is the master. He said, and then clicked away. So there we are. And now I'm going to draw the... Now let me think about this. Thanks, person outside hacking something to death. Yes, now I am going to draw the actual cave itself that we will be using. So I'm going to do something like that. I want to give it a little bit of that organic variation that we were talking about. I'm going to play it to there, I guess. Something like that. So that becomes a room. No. Go in and edit it. This becomes a room. Okay, the white part. Then I'm going to make a new shape. And this is going to be this cave entrance, this cave here. I'm going to make it a little bit more controlled. Okay. So that's for there. Oh, it's made as one shape. No, it's not made as one shape. Finish. Oh, I forgot to finish a shape. Okay, my apologies. Right. Okay, so let's try that again. And we can always come in and edit this later, which is what I particularly like. Let's make that a little bit bigger there. Okay. So that's that one. And then, so checking that feature out after the stream. Yeah, there's... I just wanted to point out that that's not something that happened over the centuries. It's an intentionally added feature. Yeah. No, absolutely. It was definitely intentionally added. AK Writer on YouTube is busy talking about the fact that medieval castles, the staircases, the stairs were often in an uneven distribution of height and width and angle sometimes as well. That was purposefully done so that if you were a newcomer to the castle, or if you were an invader of that castle, you could possibly stumble, lose your footing, and then that allows a protector, a defender of the castle, to stab you in the face whilst you're looking down going, why am I stepping on uneven steps? I was in Finland 2 years ago now. My goodness, was it that long ago? And went to... a castle there, which the name I could never pronounce correctly, and I've gone completely blank on what it was. Anyway, and yes, it was amazing how uneven the floors were and the stairs. And you're like, well, I understand the need for protection, but damn, this is irritating. Okay, so the white area is the area that I will now be actually utilizing as a space. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, you know, we could encroach a little bit more into this space here to again just make a more interesting space, I think. Okay, great. So now that is the shape of water. That is the shape of things. Har. Okay. Enough of those. Now I am going to come here and I am going to press the convert to room experimental button. But first, I'm going to press the save button and wait for the little map successfully saved logo to pop up. Okay, now, let's see. So, stop nearly breaking your neck, please. I don't even think about replacing the nearly with it, actually. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Right, convert it to room, press the button. Well, that was anticlimactic. Holy schmoly! Okay, so it's created some vertex points, as you can see here. They're about 20,000 per square inch, which, as you can see, it's causing some problems with the computer. So let's just select this room, and you could manually go in and delete all of these, but I feel like that's not going to save us time, right? It's a great feature. I know it's experimental because they haven't optimized it yet, and so that's why it has caused everything to stop working. Okay, so nice idea. And you know what I'm going to do, because I should have done it before and I forgot to do it, talking about workflow, and then I forget to show you the correct workflow. I'm going to go to content here, and I'm going to go to all of these dunes and sand things. I'm just going to lock them down, and so there we go. Right. Shinotama says, why does this just look like the colon of a Teresk corpse? Yeah, it does certainly have that bolus sort of shape to it, doesn't it? Drug Dwarf, I was struggling not to see that. Yeah, I agree. Right, so there are too many vertex points here. It's a great idea, it really is, but I'm not going to spend the rest of my afternoon deleting vertex points just so that I can get a colonic shaped passageway. I think that's just insane. So I'm going to delete that, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to traditional. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to build it as a room, isn't it? So I'm going to go to room, and the floor. Again, just another moment of brilliance from the Dungeon Fog guys is you can now sample the texture and it will give you the texture that it sees. So I can match stuff up, which is really cool. The wall texture we're going to play around with in a little bit. So now I'm going to be creating a room. And for those of you that don't know, when you are creating a room, your vertex point is always going to link onto the square unless you hold down the shift key. So I'm going to hold down the shift key in a little bit. I want my room to start there, and I want it to come over there, and I want it to be a straight line. I know it's not organic. Don't panic. Okay. I will fix that in a little bit. Now, yes, I said I didn't like it because of the vertex points, but in this case, I think you agree with me. Rather get the map done than have the computer fall over and die. So I'm going to now basically almost deep etch this room out and come straight across to this point here. And you're going to see why I'm doing those straight points. Something that... there's so many new cool features that I could just keep going on about with the new Dungeon Fog 5 version. So I'm just creating some vertex points very quickly. Making some shapes, some narrowings, and closing it off. Okay, so there we go. We've got our room. It's not as brilliant as the organic shape. I don't think anyone would see a colon now, and so yeah, I think that's going to work. The colors and balance of the borders of an early Rothko. Oh, well, could go there. Shinotama says I use Dungeon Draft with Forgotten Adventures items. I'm looking at the larger scale map editors for world maps. Wonder Draft and Incarnate are the two I'm looking at. What would you suggest? Well, I use Wonder Draft when I need to do world maps for now, until Project Deos, of course, finishes. Project Deos is the Dungeon Fog guys doing world map stuff and city map stuff. So I use Wonder Draft for my world maps. I use Incarnate for region maps. I thought they did a really good job of that. I actually did a world map in Incarnate as well, but I had to do... I think it was about 8 panels by 4 panels. So what's that? 24 panels in Incarnate, and try and match up the edges of each of those panels. It was a mission, but it looked pretty good. I must admit, it did look pretty good. So I have not used Dungeon Draft. I have used Wonder Draft. It's great for what it does, but I find that... and it's the same with Incarnate. Incarnate were great in terms of releasing new stuff and trying to bring out new product, new map things and that sort of thing. But none of them come close to Dungeon Fog. Dungeon Fog's releasing new prop packs every 2 months. And if you're a subscriber, you're getting all of that I mean, literally, as I was working on one of the maps last week, they added in the new prop packs, which brought in stuff you're like, oh, that's brilliant. Now I can use that. So yeah, I mean, that's my take on it. Wonder Draft, Incarnate, both of them great programs. For big world maps, Incarnate, I think, is not yet there. I think Wonder Draft is. And yes, Shinotama, I completely agree with you. Subscriptions are terrifying because I forget about them, and you're suddenly going, well, why am I not earning as much money as I used to be? Oh, because I'm spending it all on subscription services for stuff. Like, I thought I had actually canceled my Amazon Prime account. Turns out I haven't. So I have been avoiding watching Amazon Prime movies for no reason. Yeah. So I agree with you on that front. Now, I also have to say though that yes, it's awful having these subscriptions. Would you prefer microtransactions? Would you prefer instead, when every 2 months, to go, okay, cool. Oh, they've just brought out a new asset pack of 30 props for Dungeon Fog, and it's, I don't know, Elvish stuff. Hopefully one day we'll get Elvish stuff, and then you've got to spend $5 or $6 because usually, you know, if it's subscription based, the financial model changes, or so I've been told. And you know, is it something like that you would respond better to? I honestly don't know. I have a company that I use for character portraiture and stuff when I'm making my 3D stuff. That's Daz Studio. I know that they're not subscription. They are microtransactions, which is the big buzzword these days. And those microtransactions, I mean, we've spent thousands of dollars with them. In our case, you know, we're producing content and we're producing material. So yes, it makes sense for us to spend that kind of money. If though they had a subscription service, I'd probably be more inclined to do that. Shinotama, Adobe, you're absolutely right. I will never forget the day when Adobe went from you've purchased our product, it's yours now forever and a day, to, oh no, you're going to be paying a subscription service to use our product. I was like, what? I will never pay. I will never pay. And then again, the same argument comes back and they're like, oh, well, we've just updated the entire software package and you get it, well, you get it free because it's part of your subscription service. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. So yeah, it's a big debate. It's a big debate. I mean, we were offered it. You know, we have our Patreon, and I'm just improvising some extra room space here, trying to utilize every little square inch of this map I can. So there we go. I think that's all of it. Yep, I think that's all of it. Okay, great stuff. Good. You know, and Patreon was like, well, you can get a year subscription for people that you want to support on Patreon. And we're like, well, yeah, that's great. That really is great. But is it what people want? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. Right. So I am just clearing out all of the rubbish that I should have deleted beforehand. So now we've got our rooms. We've got lots of vertex points in these rooms, but not as many as it had auto-generated for us. So that's fine. I'm keeping this outline for a reason. Yeah, all right. You know what? Let's just do this little cave down here. I made room for it. So let's pop in straight line across. Why am I doing these straight lines? Well, you're just, oops. You're just going to have to wait and watch. I took my finger off the shift key. Oh, why didn't anyone warn me? No, that is outside of the zone. You will not be printed if you are outside of that zone. So this is really just a little detailed. The GM can throw in a monster encounter in there. I don't know, something like that. That deal with Portrait Workshop, I bought it for my campaign, Team 2. It's been a good purchase. Yeah, Ben Wall's Portrait Workshop, great thing for making portraits in. Absolutely adore working with them as well. So you won't get any arguments from me there either. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I have done the basic cave layout. This stuff is all going to be solid cave stone stuff. So I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it a shape. I should say I'm going to make it a shape and just fill it in. I'm just grabbing the stone texture. It's the wrong stone texture. I know. Why make those walls straight? Spoiler alert, because you can make those straight walls invisible. Look at you, AK Writer. Look at you. It's like you know this program. Said I can delete these. I'm just going to remember that shape, committed to memory. Don't get sidetracked. Go back here, making a shape. And so we're going to start there. And this was full there. And we're going to come in there. Okay, cool. And I see that there is this big gap here, but you know, sometimes things just got to be solid. All right, so we're going to paint in there. I could probably just make a gigantic brush. Yes, I could. But I'm not a huge fan of having shapes underneath rooms. I just prefer painting around it. It's actually also very it's therapeutic. You know, I find it very therapeutic. I'm going to make a new shape there because I'm an idiot. So let's grab that shape, delete that, grab this shape, go into the edit mode, and just fill her up. Come in there, do that. I think there's a rogue shape under there still. I'll have to go and look for that. Okay. Roll20 Pro barely working at $9.99. Foundry forever £50. Yeah, look, and I absolutely agree with who was it I saw there? Someone was saying it's my hobby and I don't pay for it type of thing. I completely agree. I mean, yeah, it's growing up. That is exactly what we did as well. We just simply couldn't afford it. So if you needed a map, you drew it yourself. And I think that's been a huge influence in terms of my channel, is the fact that we always had to make our own stuff. We never had the opportunity of buying the pre-made stuff because it was just too expensive. So I'm often incredulous when people say, oh, I don't know how to make my own stuff. I'm like, but what did you do when you were playing? Oh, well, you use pre-generated stuff because nowadays it's so easy to get hold of, which is great. It's absolutely wonderful. But yes, it does take away certain skill sets, right? Okay, so this is the other thing that I love about the new brush and shape system that they're using in Dungeon Fog. You can create shapes that are not connected, but still on the same layer. So I can control that layer to my heart's content, which is wonderful. It's wonderful. Let's be wonderful. Anyone know the name of that musical there? Everything's wonderful. Oops. Okay, good. Save. There you are. I asked my players if they wanted to chip in to play a better game. Shinotama, does it make it better? Does it make it better? Having all these maps, all the miniatures, all the props, does it make it better? Honestly, I think it does. To a degree. To a degree. On the other hand, I've role-played in the back of a moving automobile. Was it less fun because we didn't have the maps? No. As a matter of fact, I think it was a little bit more entertaining because it was traveling around and, you know, so there is a huge space for Theatre of the Mind, and you go, well, Theatre of the Mind makes it free. It does. It absolutely makes it free. Why not just everybody do theater of the mind? Because you can push it further. And I think that's the bottom line, is when you do a map and you sort of lay a map down and everyone goes, oh, this is amazing, this is so cool. You can't see it, but behind me, over there, little things down there, I'm getting into Killzone, which is a Warhammer 40k small game. My partner and I are trying that out. And there's the flat board, the map that you can play on. Absolutely. And you go, oh, that could be quite fun. But then it also came with terrain, and the terrain is just super cool. The terrain is really, really cool to play with. So yeah, you know, it just makes it entertaining, I guess, is the right word to use. Right, I'm going to convert these to caves. Okay, so that we get to see something odd is happening there. Oh, yes, that's right. Okay, cool. Cool. Now, when we go into the cave system, we've got this sort of beveling effect happening there. The strength of this bevel is dependent on your inner wall thickness. So if I make that, say, 20, you'll see we get this really thick, jagged edge. That's not a problem if we wanted to be jagged like that. And I think that's what's going to make this cave scary. Someone mentioned sharp coral. Well, I think this could be our sharp coral. What's making it look weird is that our shape here has an outline. So goodbye to the outline. Okay, that will make it look a little bit better. And then when I select this again and I go edit and I'm adding to it, and I now can paint into that gap, it will then solve that problem of that dual edge for whatever reason, you know, that it was showing up. But maybe I do need the outline, because we got an outline here, but we don't have an outline there on our shape. So if we add in the outline again, but now it's sitting sort of underneath, I can again just go in and just tweak it and adjust it and change it as I need to. And here I need to just clip it a little bit. And maybe if we make the brush size a little bit smaller, we can jagged this up a little bit so it feels more like that cave is carrying on there, about blending it in. Now, if you weren't paying attention, I don't blame you, but you can select the shape. I got rid of the door or the wall by selecting the wall and then saying hide, hidden. Right, so then that creates a semi-seamless barrier. It's not completely seamless. I know. I will make some changes shortly. I'm just going to work on this shape here so that it looks more like... And again, just changing the brush size and that sort of thing. And there we go. We're getting a bit more of an edging in there. And let's come in here and just delete a little bit so we can see what's going on there. And add in this gap here. Right, okay, so we're getting there. We are getting there. And this is the process. Maybe it's too much. Let's come in here and let's change the intensity. The intensity changes the size of these spikes. So that's a little bit closer to what I was drawing out there, and I think we were able to get that to match up quite nicely. Great stuff. Right, coming back here, edit, big. Let's increase that block size so we know all our edges are going to fit into that cave. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think we're getting a pretty... It's still a bit stepped, but I think it's getting there. I think it's definitely getting there. Lance Pickett, I prefer Theatre of the Mind, but it's a problem. Yes. Well, so... Theatre of the Mind definitely has strength, right? The other thing though that Theatre of the Mind brings with it is when you're sitting around a table, that's easy enough to, if someone goes, I don't get it, where are we? You can just draw on a piece of paper, oh, you're in a cave, it's this narrow. But when you're playing online, well, now you can't just do that easily. So either you're using a virtual tabletop, if you are using a virtual tabletop, you might not be. In which case, then it does become very problematic, doesn't it? Right, so room picker, I am now going to select this technique and I am now going to paste it onto all of these shapes, onto all of these rooms, because ain't nobody got time for that, as they say. Right, so there we are. We know that this contraction was going to happen. So, I mean, I really could have just filled in this whole gap, this whole space, because no one would notice. And it would have made life easier. Again, I just like to keep my shapes roughly in the space that they are supposed to be operating in. Simply because then if I accidentally click on it, I know, oh, that's the rock face. Okay, cool. Rather than what is this amorphous shape, amorphous blob? Where does this link to? Yeah. Okay. Da-dee-da-dee. Normally I listen to music whilst doing this. Now I'm listening to your comments that you are typing up. So there we are. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in. I am just going to be cleaning this up. We are getting to the more exciting parts of this map. We are, I promise, we are. Let's just check that out. There's something interesting happening there, but we're going to go and look at that in a little bit. And interesting parts, I guess, is the room stuff that we're going to be adding in, the actual design of the interior, maybe. I don't know. What do you guys find is the most exciting part about building maps? For me, it's about working out how to make the space really cool and how to make it exciting for my players. Filling it in, I've always found rather mundane. I'm like, well, yeah, all right, fine, we can fill it in and make it do its thing. Now there's a weird thing happening here, and it's because those 2 points, do you see that? These 2 vertex points here are not actually in alignment. I think if I do that, that will clear that up. Okay. Yeah, it's still there. But that's all right, because we've got some brushes that are going to come in over that. Toot sweet, as they say. There's some interesting things happening here, but I see it's only in the zoomed out space. It's not in the, you know, when I zoom out, you're starting to get these slashes or artifacts coming in. All right, so I'm just selecting each of these rooms and just hiding these walls. No, yes. So we get these supposed corridors, and I'll come in here and neaten this up. Oh boy, they don't touch at all. No, this one, I want you to move to there. And this one is down there. Okay, well that's close enough that the line is not going to be a problem. I think I just find it fun watching them struggle and laughing, knowing that the item they could have gotten is literally just an investigation check away behind a paper wall. That is a lot of fun. It's also a lot of frustration sometimes. You're like, oh, if they just check a wall or a this or a that, and they never do. They never do. They never ever do. All right, so this room here is looking a bit square. It's looking a little bit square to me. So I'm going to come down here and hold down Shift and just move these points out a little bit, because square is not what I want. Let's do something like this. Yeah, is that less square now? No, it's still pretty square there, Jim. Yeah, you got yourself a pretty good square. So we're going to come invade down here. We don't like you so much. So we're just going to do that. Oh, a trick I discovered the other day is right-click on your line and it creates a new vertex point for you. How cool is that? Okay, instead of having to go split wall and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So that's a really nice function, I think, anyway. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Split this wall. I don't know why it doesn't auto-select the point after it. So I suppose it's difficult. I'm just trying quite literally to break. To try and break this shape so that it doesn't look so square. So we're basically making an appendix now of this underwater Taresque. I think someone was liking this map too. Let's just do one more. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's a little bit less square. It's still square because of up here, but I don't want to. I don't wanna. You can't make me. You can make me change this shape though. And again, I think that this is critical stuff to get right before you get much further in terms of your space, is making sure that the playing area works for what you need it to do in terms of your narrative, in terms of your intention. And if it doesn't, then you have to rework it. And you don't want to have to do that once you've put in all of your props. It's just making more work for yourself. And I think that is a lot of reasons why people take so long doing maps, is because it's either they get disheartened when the map doesn't look good to start with, or there's so much to change. Yeah, that's better. You know what? I mean, it's either going to be a square shape or a circle shape or a triangle shape. I mean, that's just how shapes work. I remember that lesson from kindergarten. I think I accidentally moved this earlier on. Doesn't matter. I'm going to go in and edit it now anyway. So we're in ad mode. What have we got here? Thunderspark says, oh, neat. What program are you using at Great GM? Thundersparks, I'm using Dungeon Fog. Thanks, GM Stretch, for grabbing that answer before I got there. So yes, Dungeon Fog, dungeonfog.com. Ben Walls, I can feel the sun rising. About time for this customer service vampire to sleep. Been a pleasure, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, and good night. Cheers, Ben Walls. Thanks for joining us, and have fun. Sorry if they've been asked a million times. I just got here. Thundersparks, we're hanging out. No need to apologize. Asking questions is always better than not asking questions. So I was told. So bear that in mind. Right. Okay, I'm going to fill in this gap here so that we don't have any issues. I'm happy with this layout. It fits what was approved. In my case, I have my business partners, and I had to submit all my map designs to them, and they're like, yeah, this one's interesting, can you fix that, can you do that? So I've got them to appease, and then I've got myself to appease as well. I think that's something that is absolutely critical. If I don't use this map in my own game, why the hell did I bother making it in the first place? So that's one of my design parameter requirements as well. Now I'm gonna have to go and clean up all these edges because they have misaligned in some weird shape or form. So no time like the present after saving. Are you going to submerge the entrance? Yeah, the whole cave is actually underwater. So we're going to do a water effect. But what we're going to do with that is that water effect we're going to slap in right at the end. So we're designing the cave as if it was dry. You know, when you hear mysterious cove, player characters are going to swim down there. They're going to have some kind of potion of water breathing or something along those lines, assumedly. Would it be more interesting if the passageway was flooded, but this cave is actually exposed? I think that would be a little bit more dramatic, I suppose. So, yeah. Gershti, I apologize for streaming during your work time. This is my work time as well. So, you know, we're bad. It's just bad everywhere. I like that idea of it being half submerged. I had thought of just making the whole thing submerged, but I think that's a better idea. Go you for suggesting that. Okay, back to editing. I'm going into the negative space now because I want to get this right in terms of this matchup. And I think that's going to work quite well there. I'm going to drop my size. Okay, I mean, this is really at the minuscule level here. And now I can continue this effect. Basically just shaking my mouse as I go along this edge here. And if I make it 1... If anyone from Dungeon Fog is watching, they're going, no, he's going to break it. He's making too many vertex points. But that's what this supposedly this system is about. And something else that I do for Dungeon Fog voluntarily, because it just happens, is testing out their product for bugs. We have found some interesting ones. They're like, how the hell did you get it to do that? We're like, it just happened. It does, you know. You've heard it butchered by worse. Yeah, well, my surname is something that gets destroyed all the time. So I try and make the effort. And sometimes I go, well, I think it's this sort of pronunciation, but you never know. So I'm glad. I am glad. All right. So just doing a little bit extra there. I think this is just going to, you know, the players might not even notice this, in which case, job done. I know it sounds weird, but it's like, no, if the players are not looking at the map going, oh my God, look at the beautiful map, maybe that's what they should do the first time they see it. But after that point, the map should become a tool for helping them tell their story. So I don't want them to be blown away by this the intricacy of the map. I want them to see it as a tool, as a space where their characters are likely to die if they don't pay attention and if they don't use it properly. So I'm all for that, and I know this is in the bleed, but I like to finish it off anyway. Alrighty then, that has finished off that. Yay! Look at that. So now I think we can sit back and why is there a thing here? Grrr. Where do you come from? Where do you come from, my beauty? Off you go. I really could have made life easier if I had just made this whole thing solid, but I refuse. All right, finish shape. Ah, cute map. Arg. Okay. I think that's a pretty interesting little cave grotto thing that we've got going on there. So, is that more bloody problems down there? Look at that. Look at that. If you want to laugh, Netflix has done a series on swearing and curse words and where they come from and all that kind of stuff. It's amazing how that works. Dragon says, I would rather listen to Guy during breakfast than the morbid, depressing news people. Well, I can certainly do a morbid, depressing news read. In today's news, stuff happened all around the world. And later, when we come back, we'll be looking at the financial implications of finances and what happens when you have money. Because I don't know, because I never have any money. And then, oh, sorry. Oh, no, what am I doing? What am I doing? It's way too big a brush. And then, of course, my favorite is when you're watching live television, live news. I used to work in live news for my sins many years ago. It was always a case of 73 people burned alive today in a tragic accident on the highway. And now, over to Glenn for the weather. Weatherman's like, yeah, it's going to be wet and raining, but the people who, died don't care. But it is what it is. It is what it is. It's very sad. Anyway, can you repeat the news, but in a sultry radio voice like you're the lady from the Warriors? No, I cannot, drugged dwarf. The beard prevents me from going too high. Okay, right. So we have saved this map. Have we saved this map? Let's see. Only that's so dark. Yeah. Oh no, that's so dark. Sorry, Bane's speaker. Well, someone was saying that the news was depressing. It really is. So there you are. You're all going to die down here. Yeah, absolutely. I was playing Cyberpunk. What is it, 2077? And there's an AI in there that goes mad, and it's the same AI voice as from Portal 2, which I thought was a lot of fun. That wonderful, sarcastic female voice. Right, now, again, because of the way that Dungeon Fog works now with its brush tools, our very next thing is to now brush our rooms. So brush tool, thank you very much. Selection tool, I'm going to click on the sand. Yeah, but I know that the sand isn't my bottom layer. Let's find a bottom layer of sand, which I think is actually it's this one. Yes, it is. Okay, cool. So I'm in this room. I'm just going to brush in some of that gritty sand there, and I'm going to finish that brush. I'm going to select another brush. I actually shouldn't be doing it this way. This is the dumb way of doing it. I'm going to select the normal dune sand and just wash some of that into there, so it's kind of blown in. What the picker does not do is it does not pick up the opacity, right? So the room itself is actually a problem. The room does not have the right floor texture. That is the floor texture that the room should have. So I'm going to very quickly just check the room and just paint all of these to that color of the basic floor. Good news, everyone. Oh, wait, that's not good news at all. Yes. Zerorath, I think, yes. GLaDOS, I think that was a name. I played Portal 2 for about 5 of the missions, 6 of the missions. And then I got so I got frustrated, I was just dying all the time, and it was just very frustrating. So yeah. All right, I'm gonna go and do some cleanup quickly. Yeah, that's about the right size brush. Let's not waste time. I just get rid of all of the extraneous textures. Okay. So dry cracked soil is the first layer. So come into the contact room here, dry cracked soil. I'm not even using dry cracked soil as a brush type. Great. That is which one? That is that one. Okay, cool. So that one. Little bit big. Okay, you're going to see what I'm going to be doing in a little bit. So I'm going to do that. This is our lowest layer, right? I'm actually going to delete this other room. Bear with me, folks. I mean, sometimes you make mistakes, right? So I thought that was one. So I've got this brush here. I'm going to go into edit because I want this room to have some there and some of it there. And let's just do some here. It really is just a random sort of collection. Now I'm going to finish that brush, and I'm going to go through each and every room with that particular texture in, oh goodness, and they're all above the wall. I'll go in and change that now, so that each room has got the same layering, the same kind of see, if I was drawing it in here, it wouldn't matter because the brush is linked to this room and this room only. I have to finish the brush, and then I create a new brush when I'm now painting in this room. Finish the brush, and let's come back here. That is all the same room there, so this is a new room. Let's do that. Finish the brush. Into this room we go, and there we paint that. Finish the brush. Come back to this room, select this brush, and tell it that it is no longer allowed to be above the walls. On the same with this one. Down you go. Not above the walls, if you please. So now we can start to see that this brush fills up this space, but this one's brush does not. So we add, we just fill in the gap, and there we go. No more is there a gap. So that's something that we're going to have to be very aware of as we work through the edges so that our rooms look as if they are continuous rather than as separate rooms. Again, I made them as separate rooms so that I can control the contents of each room to my heart's content. Okay. All right, so that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. Yes, we know that this is a harsh edge, but that's because we're not using all of the textures yet. Right, so the next layer, and that would be, I'm thinking the crumbled stone. No, what is that? Could be, it should be sand dune with pebbles. That looks like sand dunes with pebbles. If you hold your mouse cursor over, by the way, you will see that. So I'm back out. Have fun. See you tomorrow. Gershti, it will be Thursday that I stream again. Tomorrow is Wednesday, and that is meeting days for me. So I'll be back on Thursday, roughly the same time. Okay, let's just do an experiment. Yeah, that's pretty damn good. That's pretty good. We're going to fill in some gaps here. No, because that's not part of the room. Okay, cool. Finish the brush. New space. Fill in the gaps. Finish the brush. Pouring in here and sort of swirling around there. I mean, if anyone is a hydrodynamic specialist, you can tell me that the sand is not going to spew out in that direction. It's going to spew out in this direction. And I'll go, I believe you, but I don't care. That's the truth about the matter, sadly. But I mean, truth is important. Okay, so we're just filling in those gaps there. Okay, cool. And again, I'm going to come back and adjust this anyway, if I feel I need to. But it's about getting all of my textures just loaded in there and just making sure that they all work and look good and match. Right, so that should now match. Oh yes, I know why it doesn't match. I know why it doesn't match, because the opacity is not copied over. I wish it was. It would make my job a lot easier if the opacity was carried over. But I think we're already starting to get a very interesting look. I don't know if you agree with me or not. I just think it's starting to look certainly very much like a beach space. Let's make a big circle here to sort of indicate that it was raised up a little bit. We'll come and play with opacity in just a bit, don't worry. Okay. New Digital Blue says, is this Dungeon Draft? No, this is Dungeon Fog, dungeonfog.com. They've been, Wonder Draft came out first, then that was for world building. Then Dungeon Fog came out, which is dungeon map building. And I think Incarnate was in there as well at some point. I just don't remember when exactly. All right, so cracked dry soil is at 100%, so we don't have to fix that. Stone pebbles is at about, and I wish they put values in here. This is about 70%, I guess. And that is sand dune with pebbles. So I come into, no. So now I come to this room here and I go content, sand dune with pebbles. Okay, pebbles sits at about that point there. So a lot of this process is really just about eyeballing sand dune with pebbles, the values, getting them to be similar. We're going to hide it with lighting. And I know this, for some of you, like, oh, we're putting in so much effort in terms of making these things work. Yes, it is effort. But I think that, you know, I will be able to sleep at night going, you know, the sand dune with pebbles have the same opacity, and that just makes me a happy puppy. So I can sleep at night. Okay, small sand dunes. Right, good. Is at about 50%. Okay, that makes more sense now. So small sand dunes is about 50%. Let's see, somewhere about there. Somewhere there. Okay, cool. Right, small sand dunes. And there we go. I love making maps, maybe to an unhealthy degree. Yeah, absolutely. It's contagious. Everybody run. Wait, what's contagious? Hey, I'm confused as well. Oh, no. I have learned to expect the unexpected with you. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. But I appreciate a well-detailed map. I do, too. I absolutely do. I mean, there is definitely an art form in terms of... If you're doing something like Dungeon Fog, I think the art form is coming in, making something that we recognize and go, oh, and ah. I think that for me is the fun part. Now, there is a texture in there that I am missing. What did we have in here? This dark stone. Oh, that's the dark stone. Oh. All right, fine. Good. Okay, great stuff. Now, yes, this dark stone does look rather dull, doesn't it? It's just very, very flat. So I'm going to make a new brush. And we're still brushing, folks. I mean, that for me is we've now been going for just over an hour and 47 minutes. And we're still texture layering, which... You know, in previous iterations of Dungeon Fog, you wanted to do it, but it was so difficult to deal with the fallout of when it went wrong that you ended up going, I surrender, I give up, it is too much. Okay, don't shout at me yet. I know this is a weird texture. Give me a chance, but I'm experimenting, and that for me is what these brushes are about, is that you can now experiment, and you're not basically being punished and having to undo that brush. You can go, yeah, you know, it does not sit well. I want to change this or that, and then you can so easily. You really can, and I'm just doing a big overpass first. And I'm going to make this smaller, and then I'm going to come in here, and I can, you know, can add in some sort of detailing. I still don't know if this is the right texture to be adding. I mean, theoretically, this is stone, so the players shouldn't be concerned with this, but you can add in detail. I mean, the world is not going to end. And if you're not enjoying the process, why are you doing it? Oh, because you're the GM. Aha. Yeah, that is a problem. And I think that, you know, there's that big debate. Wow, I am just talking absolute nonsense. This is just going in absolutely everywhere. Tengwin, there you go. Look at you having joined us. Nice to see you around. Let's see. Oh, wow, I missed quite a lot of questions. It's crazy to think how things have changed from just drawing out on a playmat being top tier, and now it's utilizing tools like these online drawing programs. New digital blue, absolutely. I mean, I remember the first time I saw, what were those? What's that company called? The hex grid map that you could draw on and erase with a dry erase marker. It was like mind blown. I didn't have to have piles and piles of graph paper anymore. So that I completely agree. Completely agree. That was an amazing time for all of us. So yeah, how things have indeed changed and adapted, and you know what's expected these days as well is, I think, quite different. So what do you guys think of that? I'm not unhappy with that, what I am going to do is another brush on top of that. Now that I have found brushes, it's like, no, this is what you need to have in your life. And I don't care what anyone says. This is the business. And so this is what you need. I'm just checking. I'm experimenting. Okay. Let me experiment. If it doesn't hurt anyone, you know, it should be okay. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, I think this is going to work. Look at that. So again, just little highlights in here. Maybe this is too bright. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. But maybe this is the little kicker that's going to help us. I don't know. But this is starting to look quite exciting. I think. And what we've got is we've got 2 brushes loaded up into the base texture, which means you have so many now texture variations that it's insane. You know what I'm saying? It's like just nuts. What we can also do is play around with this texture. Can you swap the 2 brush textures? Yeah, I can. Absolutely, we can. I want to make this darker, though. Darker. Do we like it darker? Is that like too dark, maybe? Because I want it to feel like it's a rock wall, right? So I'm going to select all of these textures, as a matter of fact, and drop them down to -45. Maybe even darker. There was a Hugo Boss ad, darker. I like darker. Yeah. Maybe the actual texture needs to be darker, like this color here. Maybe that needs to have... It's -30 already, so let's make it -57. That's a little bit very... It's not bad. It's not bad, and I think it'll be better. So it's -66, -44. Okay, you remember that, right? Because then when I come into this room and I go to this texture here, -66 minus... What was it? 54? 64? 44? 55? So, there we go. Zenarath, you are my hero. Thank you. Yeah. There we go. So let's see. Yep. Is it invisible line? Yep, it is. Okay, great. So we're going to use our floor application tool. Select this one. Come here. Paint that. Paint that. Paint that. So by matching the wall texture to the texture I'm using in the shape, obviously it makes it look as if the wall just blends into that shape completely. Alrighty, I think that's it. Oh my God, I think it's time for us to be able to actually start loading stuff in here. Yay! Wow. Like the 80% quota for my character to get hurt in your plot still stands, I think. Wait, what? Just watched your pre-gen versus homebrew video. It was really good. Lots of your videos are and have helped me to be a better GM. New Digital Blue. That's really cool. Thank you for that. Hey, how a long-time fan and now agreed to run a short adventure for some friends. Yes, awesome, fan-freaking-tastic. Zenarath, the water layer. So, water is an interesting thing when it comes to Dungeon Fog stacking, and you've got to make sure that in your stack you know what you're doing. So in here, for example, I've locked these textures. Now I'm going to go into each of these rooms and lock these textures as well. Yes, I know. Stop judging me. If I just press the lock button, it locks them all, supposedly, or it unlocks them all. I think I forget which way around it works. But yes, so I lock all of these because we don't want to muck around with these again. They are done, and we are finished with that. And it makes clicking the room then very much easier as well. You don't have anything that you're going to misclick on and that sort of thing. All right, cool. So there we go. So the water layer we're going to get to in a long time. Because it sits almost at the top of the stack, but not completely at the top of the stack, in terms of overlaying everything. So that's how we fake that. So bear that in mind. It's a good question. Absolutely, it's a good question. Right. So now we have got that going on there. I think that's pretty cool. It kind of works for me. Okay, we're going to come to the stage now. I'm going to drop the stage lighting down to, let's say, 75, and the room lighting will have to be 75 as well. Okay. Oi. Right. Why did I drop the room lighting down? Well, it means that when I then actually apply lighting to the room, you will see it. And of course they have to be the same because it's in the same space. So don't worry if it's feeling a little bit dark. I darken it down so that I can see the silhouettes better, I suppose you could say. And it just sort of helps my creative process, or lack thereof. But yes, that is my work process. Now I want this water area. I want it to have something going on in here. I don't want it just to be this empty space. And someone came up with a very good suggestion from Lance Pickett there, is hit that little save button, doggy. You want that to really be, that's your go-to button. When you click a button, go back there. That's it. That's perfect. Thank you, Lance, for that. Someone suggested a shipwreck. Now, this is, I mean, there is no, in my opinion, there's no right and wrong way to play around with how you go about putting your props into Dungeon Fog. So just bear that in mind. If we go down to Pirates and we go all the way down to the bottom down here, somewhere here they've got shipwrecks. Now they've got a few different shapes. So I'm going to just slap down each shape. And it's important, I think, to go and do this because you need to see how they each work. And I think there were some shipwrecks in the special awards or whatever it was. They're a bit more colorful. I do like those. And then there's bits of spar. Okay. And well, that's a great prop. Here's a plank. So that's great. Tentacles I'm not going to add. Also, your accent has always fascinated me. You tend to keep the hard R from the American accent, yet the rest is mostly British. Hated Official XD, the hard R actually comes from the Dutch influence of the area that I grew up in, which was South Africa. And so that hard R is actually from the very heavy Afrikaans influence that we had growing up. But there we go. I switch through accents all the time. I'm actually not entirely sure what my original accent really should be, to be perfectly honest with you. I personally like this shipwreck. Yeah, it's disappearing because I put it into the wrong room. So I like this shipwreck as opposed to this shipwreck. This one's a bit dull for me. So is that one. So I'm going to use this shipwreck here. That's okay, but it's not blowing my hair back. The problem with this shipwreck is that this particular type of ship, okay, this particular style is a style of ship that was popular in no earlier than the 1650s. Probably even the early 1700s was when this particular design of ship came out. So it's an anachronistic thing if we're looking at it from a medieval perspective. So bear that in mind. Now, maybe place both the broken, more colored aft and the stern with a little piece of broken space. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to play around with this. The point I'm getting to is, apart from the fact that the ship is anachronistic, which I don't think many people are going to care about, is the scale is completely wrong. This little part here should be 5 foot. So give me a second here. This little section here should be, if we're bringing this to scale, this is how, yeah, somewhere here. This is how big that ship should actually be. So if we want shipwreck, then it would be something like that, which doesn't really show us very much detail, does it? So I'm going to just do a little bit less than that because I'm fairly certain not everyone is going to be sitting there going, yes, but you see, this whole thing is supposed to be 65 by 75. Right? It looks cool, deal with it, all right? That's the bottom line. It looks cool, deal with it. So I think this is quite a nice idea. Again, just sort of extending this corridor, right? And of course, this is going to be bigger. It's got to match similarly to there. Okay, so I'm just remembering my cutoff is there. So all the blue, which I liked in this particular model, is gone. But I do like the herringbone, the rib sort of shape type of thing going on there. And I want this to be a cluttered space so that when you put the character tokens down... Okay, I mean, I pulled these planks out just to see what they looked like. Okay. Alt to get to the texture underneath. Yeah, and then Alt again. So let's just get in there. Just trying to break up this particular shape here. Make it feel more wreckage-like. Now. Do what I want you to do, not what you are programmed to do. Yeah, all right, that's a bit indiscriminate, so we couldn't really see what's going on there. The ribs are gorgeous detail. Yeah, they are very nice, very nice. It's Tony Trauno who does the artwork for Dungeon Fog. Super talented artist and animator. I mean, which is great as well. Still messing around with shift. Okay, that's it. Gershchi, see you later. All right, maybe time to save again. Yeah, well, you know, I mean, we've been. It's only one thing we put in, but you're right. Oh, that might also be an old. You said Afrikaans. Now I can't without. Now I can without guilt. What do you mean? You can hide the most anachronistic parts by covering them with sand. Absolutely, you can. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. In your games, do you play using the online dynamic tool or a static image? I use the dynamic tool because I really like the fact that the characters could, in theory, lift up a box and move it around and that sort of thing. Okay, cool. So we're getting this basic kind of shape. I feel that this should be more shipwrecked. I would want to see more debris. I believe it is in dungeon. Is it in dungeon? There's some broken doors and things which are fairly new. No. See, I don't think a random broken door is going to do anything for us. I don't think it's going to help us. Okay, so decoration's got bits of broken debris, which I'm going to just zoom in on a little bit here and just make this feel, you know, just make it feel a bit more shattered, a little bit more broken, and again, so that the prop doesn't feel like it's being just reused and reused and reused. You change the sizing of that prop. I will move all of these underneath the ship. Don't panic. I'm not going to leave it on top. So you change the sizing around, and it makes it feel like you've got lots of different props being used. That's been my experience anyway. And let's throw one there and shrink this down again and drop it there. Rotating them, of course, is a major thing. That shift key should be your ally for everything. Okay, that kind of works for me. And I know little bits of wood would have drifted away and all that kind of wonderful stuff. Let's make this prop our own by putting a big old crack in there. Okay, and now we go to our stack and we just grab the shipwreck. Bump. Bump. Where the hell is a shipwreck? And bump. Okay, cool. There was one piece that I wanted to sit on top. Debris big, and that should sit there. Okay, cool. The colors don't match, which always irritates me about this whole thing. So it's just a case of... And yes, I should have done this beforehand, before I started placing them down. I didn't. you live and learn. So I'm just going through each one, just pumping up the saturation. It just matches them close. And then once we put the water texture in, that'll change things too. So I think that's, I don't mind some of it being darker. All right, cool. So that is the shipwreck leading into this cave. I think that could be quite fun. Oh, Debris pronouncing the hard S. Absolutely. Well, when you think about it, most languages do this. English is not the only one, but it should be Debris. Why is it debris? Well, because that is what we got from the French when they colonized the UK. And so then we have these weird letters. It's like debris. It should be double E at the end, right? Like degree, debris, degree. It's literally just changing a letter. Anyway, it is what it is. My favorite one is triarchy, which took me a long time to figure it out. Triarchy, triarchery, I think it was, which is that word there, triarchy. And they're like, oh no, the bris just sounds weird. I'd love it if one could just stream or mirror the maps of Dungeon Fog into virtual simulators instead of having to download them and upload them. AK Writer, they do with Foundry VTT. Foundry VTT, you literally can export directly from Dungeon Fog into Foundry, and it actually exports all your walls and your lighting as well, or so I've been told. I haven't done it myself personally, but I know that is some function that they have worked on. Right, so that is the Debris, as we're now going to be calling it, and we just need to add in some sea-like stuff. Pirates has got a great collection of this shore grass, they call it. I like to expand it a little bit and then pop it around liberally. Let's throw some here and there. Now it is sitting above the cave wall. I know, don't worry, don't freak out. We will change that. That's just about the layering, what is on top, what is not on top. So we'll do that there. We'll put some grass in there perhaps. I'm also, whilst I'm dropping down bits of grass and the like, I'm trying to lead the eye of the player in a very specific direction, which is down towards this entrance. Now I know it's pretty damned obvious, but again, great art is always about leading lines. So if you can go from dark to light, it leads the viewer's eye. If you have a little bright patch somewhere, so that's a really powerful kind of tool. I feel like we're going to be using this grass elsewhere, so I'm just going to drop a version into each room because I've got it. So that's what I'm going to do there. Okay, cool. And then we go in, and this is a little trick that I have found that works quite well, is you just sort of randomly change. And I really wish that they've got jitter modifiers on pretty much everything within Dungeon Fog. I wish they had a little jitter modifier for these values. I don't want it to be dramatic. I just want it to be a couple degrees off of one another, just to make them feel a little bit different. Because I feel like, just a little slider here, a little bit there, and suddenly it's the same texture, it's the same prop, but it's a different look. It has a different kind of feel to it. You don't want it to be dramatically different. It's just degrees of difference, right? Let me zoom in here and you'll see what I'm talking about. So if you're a player walking along, yeah, there's some blue grass, there's some green grass, there's some darker grass. That's cool, that's cool, that's cool. And it's not the same grass as before. That for me is what's so critical. Right, AK Wright said about Wednesday and Thursday got me confused. From the Shadows Born will be on Thursday this week? No. Was there a memo I didn't get? No. From the Shadows Born is every Wednesday at 7 p.m. UTC, Universal Time Counter. So don't get confused with that. That's staying the same. I will be streaming these map making sessions on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays until I have finished making the map. So that is why I was saying to people, I will see you when I see you on a Thursday, for example. Something we can do is add in some cliff edges, but I think we've got enough detailing in here that people will realize that this is the edge of the map. So I'm not going to do that just yet. We can come back to it. I mean, you guys, you might say, well, actually, I think it does look better with a bit of a cliff edge to it. I'm not convinced. I think you've got to work with the styles that you have, and sometimes it's about accepting what you can and cannot change. I'm going to drop in a crate or two. I don't think it's going to break the game. I don't think players are going to go, ooh, I'm going to stop and search those crates. If they do, it gives the GM an opportunity to drop in a monster or three. I like to just drop in some seashells and things. That's going to get cut off. Let's drop in a seashell. They've got sunken anchors, which are pretty cool. Wait, didn't this have a sunken? No, it doesn't. It got cut off. Right. Good. Okay. So, no, I don't like it. I think we've got enough detailing in here, but I might drop that into there because that's quite nice. We'll come back to it. We'll play with it. I love the little starfish. I think it's super cool. And so we're going to just do a bunch of them. This is a little starfish colony. Okay, because they're so cute. We're going to come back to that. Rib cage. Well, rib cage. This is a fun rib cage. I love the shape of this rib cage. I think it's quite cool. Let's drop it in here for now. We'll come back. I mean, look at that. That's really, really awesome to play with. Corals. There are so many different corals. Again, I'm not convinced we're going to be using a lot of corals because this is a pretty full space already. So I'm going to skip the corals. Amphorae are lovely. Seashells. She sells seashells on the seashore. I remember those tongue twisters of yore. They're interesting, but they're not. Again, I'm not kind of feeling like we needing more in here. Let's just do that there and then be done with it. In terms of those seashells. Hey, are those crates anachronistic? No, they're not. Well, yeah, touche. Oh, let's put some shells there. Growing on the side of the ship. I do like the fact that they're like, we need lots of different seashells so that things look... There we go. I'll hide your crate for you. How about that? There we go. So the crate's not so bad. With the cross bracing and that sort of thing. Okay, let's fill in that there. Right, that's good enough for me. I think that's definitely enough of that sort of thing. Let's get this layer correct. So it is natural stone, dark stone. I think it's all three of these. Yeah, it's all three of these. So I'm going to create a new layer. Drag it all the way down here. Okay, and this is, we're going to call it rock face. And into the rock face in order of its stack. I'm going to drop the first natural stone, and I'm going to drop the second natural stone, and then I drop the last natural stone. Okay, and then I'm going to take the whole thing all the way to the top of my stack. Stack control is really important, and whoop, now it's sitting over everything. It does have a drop shadow, so that's fine. I don't need it to be above the walls, doesn't need to be concealed. Okay, we are good from that perspective. All right, as they say. Oh, these starfish. La 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 la, that's too much color. Darker. Too dark. Okay, boom, 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 boom. Ah, there we go. All right, pink starfish. Do you get pink starfish? I think you do. Let's go this way. It's a very blue starfish. That pink starfish looks fake on a map that's got dragons. There we go, that looks a bit better. I don't know if I like that. I don't know about the blue one. Maybe the blue one's the wrong colour. The blue one doth offend me. How does that look to everybody? Is that too playful? Is that too weird that the starfish are here? What do starfish eat? They eat algae, right? So if they eat algae, then perhaps we should give them some algae to eat. See, I feel like they're just not playing along. Could that work? Something like that. I don't have a problem with that, actually. Yeah, some sort of bloom, and then let's just change up the sizes so it looks like it's intentional. Okay, great. Again, you might be looking at this going, it doesn't really look like it's underwater. But yeah, sea urchins too. Yeah, we can add that to the list of things that Dungeon Fog needs to draw. Is we need sea urchins, please, because that's what starfish eat. So yes. Oh yeah, no meetings. Yes, tomorrow. AK Writer is basically meetings all day with people. The anchor thing being trapped in that little cave might have been the reason. That's how the ship got sunk. If that wasn't, could we build a reason into the map? Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think, you know, the anchor could have drifted down there. It could also be a point where you go, well, actually, I think that's very, very wrong. It shouldn't have just drifted down there. Why would it have? I'm going to show you a little trick now. We make it above the walls. And then we can leave it on that join. So it almost looks like maybe it did get stuck in there. And it hides the join. But maybe it blocks the map too. So maybe we want to do something like that maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Kenneth Newton III just saw this. What's going on? I'm drawing a map for my Kickstarter series, Epic Battlemaps, which is funded and done now. But yes, we are drawing maps, and I'm showing you how I do it in Dungeon Fog, in case anyone wants to see how I make battle maps, basically. So now I'm going back to our sand, I should say. I'm going to make a new brush layer because I want this shipwreck to feel like it's embedded in the sand, rather than sitting on the surface as cleanly as it was, right? I want it to feel almost like it's covered in sand and has been sort of forgotten about, maybe lost for all the ages. We can play around with this. I'm going to do the same thing with this. Now, what am I doing? I haven't finished the brush yet. With the anchor as well. The anchor is above the walls. That's an interesting one. All right. That would be covered. So I'm just trying to pick out areas that would be sort of sand filled, I guess. I'm going to come around and play with the sand texture more. Oh, I didn't finish the brush. Finish the brush, then you add the next layer. Yeah. Finish brush. Okay, I will deselect that altogether and just come back in again. Thank you. There we go. Now we're cooking on gas. Okay. Everything kind of gets that silty look. This might work. This might work, but let's go in there and play around with these levels. So this we can drop down. Oh, no, it's way there. I think it's okay. This one similar to that as well, but I feel like some of the stuff. No, actually, that's not terrible. That's not terrible. This area is quite bad. I don't like this shape here. So edit and just subtract some of this stuff. You know, it's got to feel like it should be there. So finish that one up. I think it's the other one. This one. Make it a little bit smaller. Oops. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So it's about finding the edge of the ship frame, I guess. And just cleaning that up. Yeah. Yep. Yep. I think that's better. I think that's better. Yeah, it makes it pop. Do you ever find that the program will slow down with a lot of objects and layers? Yes, it will. Absolutely. Absolutely. It will slow the program down quite a bit in terms of performance. So you do have to watch out for that. Saving. You do definitely have to watch out for that. So, and also there is a balance. I must admit this section here is feeling very cluttered at the moment, and I'm wondering if it is this grass texture. Maybe there's too much of it. Maybe there's too much of it. It just feels like there's so much going on here, and we have to bear in mind as map makers, yes, this space would be filled with stuff. Absolutely. Why wouldn't it be filled with stuff? Why wouldn't it be filled with stuff? It's under the sea. It's going to have groan and it's going to have bits and pieces all over it. That's what life does. But it's also a game that we are playing. Where is this? This is a crate. I want that crate all the way up here. I wanted to sit on top of the sand. So this just helps. Oops. And let's grab one of these bits of driftwood. The debris. Up. Rise. Okay. And move. I'm using my cursor here to move the debris. Put that under the crate. Why is this above the walls? This shouldn't be above the walls. Oh, because the rock face is being forgotten about. There we go. Okay, so there we go. Some fresh debris, some old debris. Does that work or does it look like it's floating? I'm not sure. Exactly, guys. It's a balance. How much do you leave to the imagination? Yeah, leave to the imagination, but also how much do you how much space do you leave for the tokens and the figures? So if I just randomly slap down a token here, you know, you're going, okay, cool. So my token is standing there. It starts to get visually cluttered. Can your character, is that box, do they now have to leap over that box? Is it difficult terrain? Is it easy terrain? Can they actually fit through this corridor? Is that possible? Yes, it is possible. There you're using your imagination. Should we fill this corridor up with seagrass? We have the capacity to do so. I don't think so. I think you're just making it look even smaller in terms of space. So why would you want to do that? You know, we can make it a little bit lighter, perhaps. I love Control D as it allows me to just duplicate objects, but you guys knew that already. Okay, just to fill in some of this space, but it's a little bit too grassy now, perhaps. I don't know. Might be a bit too grassy. He said adding more grass to the scenes. We'll get there. We'll get there. The biggest thing to bear in mind is that we are going to be doing this water effect, which is going to change the way this feels. And I'll give you a very quick demonstration, because in my head I know what I'm doing, but you guys watching might not know. So we're going to use a brush tool. We're going to use the water tool that they have given us, which is all the way down here, water. And they've given us this new thing called water surface, which is super great. So there are a couple of things that we have here. We've got what's the word that they use? The caustics. That's this light pattern that you see on the bottom of the swimming pool or a little water fountain. So that is what it's called, caustics. So if I were to do a caustics brush here, you'll see what it looks like. Right, so that's called caustics. Caustics only happens to a certain depth, and then the light is so weak that it no longer affects. But we said that this was a lagoon, so that's okay. We're happy with that. And so we are going to be playing around, and look at what happens. I'm going to put this at like, I don't know, like 10%, somewhere down there. I'm going to say above the walls, so it will fill in everything. If I'm going to prevent myself from making a mistake, edit. I'm not going to take it inside the caves, because the caves wouldn't have sparkling light, right? They might have it to the entrance of the cave, but they won't have it further than that. That is just not going to happen. So that's layer number 1. Okay, finish the brush. Layer number 2 is this river surface, which we're going to play around with in terms of its scale and that sort of stuff. I'm going to make it quite big, because this one is probably going to sit over the majority of the map, except for where we want it to show us. And I'm layering it over those acoustics. Look at that. So this is at 100%. So this is a nice flowing surface, and you're like, that's really cool. This is exciting. But again, we're going to drop this all the way down so we can start to see a little bit of effect happening everywhere. But before we do that, we're going to change it to the color that we want it to be. So if we want it to be a lagoon, lagoons are a little bit greener. They maybe a little bit more intense there, maybe a little bit lighter. Let's play around with that a little bit. And now we're going to drop down that color. So we're starting to see that effect. We're definitely seeing it. It has to be above the walls. We're definitely feeling it in terms of this space here, but I think it's too small. So I'm going to make it 600. Let's see what that looks like. No, I think it's too dramatic. I think it's too dramatic. So let's welcome to the fun zone. Now we're starting to get to something that's more interesting. It's a bit too green. A little bit too green. So we're going to roll this back a bit more. Somewhere there, maybe it's a bit darker. A little bit darker, some more. We're getting there. Definitely getting there. So let's see. How are you doing today, Brown the Nat 1 digital artist? I'm doing great, thanks. I hope you're doing well as well. Hey, Dead Aussie Gamer. Nice to see you here. Yes, you are reading Strahd, preparing for tomorrow. It's the only D&D module I ever... Well, not module. I mean, it's an adventure, isn't it? It is the only D&D adventure I ever played. Well, not... I played it with a friend, or for a friend, for his birthday. That was an interesting experience, I must admit. Right, so we're starting to get a sense of how this water is going to play. I need to do some interesting little tricks here, because it is above the walls, and I don't necessarily like that. It means this cave is going to have to do this. All right, I'm just thinking aloud here, folks. All right, so we're going to do something like that. Now, it's above the wall, so it's going to override the room's information, which is fine, because we're going to come back and change that anyway. And I would rather control the room's information with my own brush in the room rather than this big one that's overriding it. So I'm going to sort of vaguely do this so that I can control that effect. I might be doing this the wrong way. There might be a smarter way of doing this. But if there is, I don't know. Do we want this room to be? No, we will empty out that effect there, and we will empty out that effect here. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing here. Right, and over there. Okay. Finish the brush. Save the program. Okay. Yeah, I should be preparing for tomorrow as well, but that's okay. That's okay. Oh, when is Talisman out? Talisman drops tonight. If you don't know what I am talking about, the Talisman game that we've been asked to run by Pegasus Spiele, the guys who made Talisman. The first episode comes out tonight. It's a lot of fun. Nearly killed the party, and so I had to make a quick decision on how to keep them alive. It was, yeah. I really like the system, I must admit. I really, really like the system. Okay, so we're getting there in terms of this cave being filled with water, but you can see now why I do that last, right? Because it is so not labor intensive, it is just so difficult to do it as a single layer. You can't really do it as a single layer, in my opinion. You just can't. You need to have multiple layers to build up your textures, to build up your effects as you're working, as you're designing this space, so that your effect is what you want it to be, and is just looking good. All right, so that's looking a lot better, I think. And I still will play. I mean, this is, I think, the most important thing that one has to bear in mind is that when you are creating a map, there is no rule that says, okay, you're done with that section, now move on. There is absolutely no rule saying that. So I might look at this and go, you know what, this texture needs to be even more subtle. I think that texture needs to be more subtle, and maybe the light, the texture underneath it needs to be more subtle. Maybe it's too heavy. Maybe it's too blue. Maybe this should be the green one that Dungeon Fog has in there, and maybe it could be darker, or maybe it should be brighter. So many different factors should be playing through your mind when you are working on this, and it's all about playing and going, well, actually, I think that looks pretty good. That's kind of maybe too small a detailing. Maybe it's not. Yeah, I'll come back to it. I only do the water effect very last. I just wanted to do it so that you guys get a sense of this is how I do it, to create that sort of illusion. And you'll see what we're going to do in this cave here when we get to that point. So I might as well do it now, actually, since we are basically at that point. If we want this cave, let's get rid of the layer. We don't see the layer. If we want this cave so if we're imagining, it's not above the wall, we're imagining that the water sort of sloshes in there, and it's going to slosh around this sand bank, and I'm not entirely sure how this would work, except that the sandbank is raised, so this cave is a little bit deeper. Okay, so let's say it's doing something like that. Oh, wrong texture. I think that's the texture we've been playing around with at 600 scaling. Right, so let's put it there for now. Oh, I should have just grabbed that texture, and that will do the same thing. Look at that. So let's drop this down to matching roughly what we were doing there. Okay, so this is starting to give a hint of it going on there, and then we select this brush again because now it is a water surface. Drop that way down because we've come out of this blue. I'm gonna have to figure out, it's an interesting challenge. It's an interesting challenge in terms of how to make this read as water surface coming out of this pool, out of this space. Oops, idiot. While still being underwater as well. It's an interesting challenge. It is an interesting challenge. Again, I'm not totally happy with this texture. So let's go with, well, this wouldn't actually have any light playing in it unless you're a Hollywood Pirates of the Caribbean movie. So, all right, let's make this work. Let's make this work. Let's darken it down. What does that look like now? Brighten it up. Does that look better? Yes, it does, as a matter of fact. Because then if I do something like, no, it's too heavy. Too heavy. Give me more blue. No, that's not working. That's not working. Let's make it bigger. 600. Let's try that. There we go. Is that too big? I think that might be too big. But if I go to too small, if I go to 100%, yeah, that definitely does not work. Let's go to our guest artist because they did blue grass, which sometimes helps. I'm not sure it's helping in this instance. I don't think that's blowing my hair back at all. Neither is that. That's not terrible for water. That's actually pretty good, that. All right, let's match this one to that one. Okay. All right, we're getting there. Trust me, we're getting there. I don't want this cave to be particularly filled with stuff. This is our main battlefield, so the players might, the GMs might want to have something in there. To finish up this water effect, we go down to a new category that has been created with a fantastic name, which is called water, but it's under terrain now, I believe. And they've got these sort of watery wave-like things, which are really cool. So if I sort of do that, something like this. I think that looks pretty good from a water-like effect. And let's just come in here. I mean, what is making this water? We don't know. What is making this water ripple? Maybe the characters stumble into it. I mean, that's always fun as well. Is that too much? That's too much. Okay. And we want to make it feel like there's sort of space to go around. Whoa, what are we doing? We're zooming in, so let's zoom out a little bit. And then you always want to play around with we don't want gigantic waves, do we? What do we think about the wave? Is it too much? Too much? Yeah, I think it's too much. There is this wonderful water effect, which I use almost every single time I want to create the illusion of water. But I take that level, oi, and I usually drop it down to like virtually nothing in terms of that. And then you copy that across. And that's a bit muddied, actually. So let's just make it 100%. Oh, that's why. Okay, so we want to leave that at about 0. I'm just going to experiment here. I'm going to colorize it, make it this bluey green, and then when I drop it down, does that look any better? It actually doesn't. Doesn't really. Okay. Air pressure in the cave, maybe. Yeah, absolutely, could be air pressure. Could be, absolutely. I think it's too much in this case, so goodbye. You are the weakest link. Go away. I'm not unhappy with this water effect, I have to say. I'm not unhappy with this water effect. So then they do have water rings, which are always fun to add. And I think caves would be filled with these sort of water splashes, things like that. And then if you go to the sewer, they've got water bubbles, which are always ominous, I think, and that just gives us some detailing over there. So there you are. I think that's going to be pretty much it for that effect. Okay, then we got to grab this plant here, and I'm using my arrow keys and just driving it into that space there. All right. Now the sand dune is locked. It's irritating me a little bit. Yeah, look at that. So I'm going to unlock it. I'm going to edit it. Editable. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to drag away, revealing a little bit more of that beach sort of effect underneath. Just sort of break up that shape. Because I kind of feel like it's hurting my mojo, man. Just do that. Break it up a bit. Okay, finish brush. There we go. Yeah, I think that's better. I think that's better. Okay, where the bubbles are, there could be the offspring of a monster. Yep. Absolutely. Well, I mean, this is the other thing. This is why I do water very, very last, is because you can come in there and, you know, they've got some interesting animal options in the pirates section. There's a school of fish, which is always a nice detail to add. There's a swarm of fish, and a school of fish is in here somewhere too. I can never find the one, and then I can only find the one, and I can't find the other one. It's in the same category, and I stare at it, and stare at it, and there we go. All right, cool. Right, so we got a little swarm of fish in there, and these need to go way down under the water. Under the sea. And then I select them usually. Yes. Okay, great. And can I actually select them, if you please? There we go. Selected them. And then I usually, because it's underwater, I usually sort of drop the opacity down a little bit. No, too big. Little school of fish. Little school of fish. Drop the opacity down so that it sort of feels like it's under the water. Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Let's zoom out and see what our map is looking like. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling this side. I'm not feeling this side. And I think it's this blue texture. So I'm going to try and marry up. Where are you? Thank you. Okay, so it's that blue texture. So I'm going to come to this bigger texture here. And I'm actually going to steal this blue one. Well, that didn't work, Jim. Is that too blue now? Is that weird? There are so many symbols going on there. Who is what Phoenix, Waxy, Where the bubble. Welcome raiders. Oh, we had a raid. Oh, welcome raiders. Look at that. I don't know where you came from, but you are welcome to join us. We're building a map. So hey guy, raiding from Japan. Phoenix. Phoenixiwaki, you are very, very kind. Thank you. Konbanwa, as Dead Aussie Gamer says. Konbanwa. Okay, awesome. Had that nasty hag stuff in Frost Maiden just now. Oh my goodness. Okay, so yeah, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. You know, I realize what I should do. Where is this water texture? It is that value, and it is that value. This should be the same. This should be the same. Somewhere around about there. I don't want to see, when I come to this texture, if I delete it, I don't want to see it. And this is being reinforced because of... No, but this isn't over that. So why is this a different color to that? Because this has a separate layer to it. Oh my goodness, guys. Right, so this texture, you see, sometimes I think a lot of Dungeon Fog is figuring out the fudge you did and why you should be doing it again. Okay, so I'm going to make this texture, and I'm going to press Control D. That duplicates the texture, right? Because I don't want to have to go and delete all these lines and all that nonsense again. So I'm going to duplicate that texture. I'm going to hide that texture. I am going to then select the texture underneath it. Not that texture. That texture. Is that the right texture? Did I hide the right texture? Yes, I did. No, I didn't. Did I? He's so confused. Why are they doing a stream? Why is that so green? Would you say, in your professional opinion, that that is the same green? I would say so, yes. So where is the water surface that I have just hidden? Did I move it somewhere? Did I delete it? I might have dragged it into a room by mistake. There is only one of them there. We both agree on that one. And that is this one. So where did my water texture go? Did I delete it? Did I delete it? I think I deleted it. I'm going to say I deleted it. That's what I'm going to say. I deleted it. No, I didn't delete it. Did I delete it? I deleted it. I deleted it. It got deleted. There was a great tragedy and it got deleted. Oh, it didn't get deleted. It got placed in the wrong place. That's why. Okay, I know where it is. Don't panic. It's in here. There it is. Whoop. Because when you duplicate something, where your mouse cursor is, if you let go, that's the room it gets assigned to. Now watch what happens. I'm going to do this, and abracadabra, no change because it's still hidden, but it's no longer in the room, and now I turn it back on again, and there you go. Bob's your uncle. Problem solved. Don't know what all of you were worrying about. It's now done. Ha, 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 ha. Ha. Great. Crises averted. Mac Bluff, you are so right. Abso-frigging-lutely. Okay, now let's get on with the... All right, I'm going to be back. I'm going to take a brief bio break, and I will be back. We're going to still... I'm still not completely convinced, but we are definitely getting there. We are definitely getting there, because when I turn this... where is this water layer now? In this room? I think we can start to panic again. Water rings, water waves, water waves. Oh, here we go. Water. There we go. When we do that, does it marry up? It actually does. That's not terrible, but I'm not convinced that this is the greatest look for the underwater part. Is that too much, I think? Could be. But we'll play. We will play, and we will come back. So I'm going to take a brief break. I will be back in 5 minutes. I swear, I promise you, it's not a lie. And grab something to drink, and we'll get ready to finish off this map. Okay, so whilst I was making my fresh cup of decaffeinated instant coffee, yes, I know, it is floor scrapings, I was sitting there thinking about images that I have seen of people underwater. And I'm on the wrong shot as well. I should be on the map shot. But we're here now, so let's stay here for a moment. Underwater, apart from the caustics, which I was talking about, it's really just layers of haze of a certain color. And depending on where you are, there's more silt, it gets brownish. If there's more detritus, it gets greener. If there is less of both of those, it gets clearer and clearer, and so on. Now, that I think is the problem that I'm having with this map, is there is too much detail in this ripple effect. This is great. I would imagine that this would look really good on the ceiling of the cave. So bear with me. I think what would actually be better is quite possibly just a solid color. And we want it to be lagoony, so we'll do something like that. But that to me says haze, and maybe even a darker color says murky water more than an effect. And so when I then look at the water ripples here, I think, no, come obey me. Thank you. If I, there's not a hell of a lot going on there in terms of pumping up that. That's really weird. This should get brighter. I must have set the opacity on those water ripples. Whatever. Okay, fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You know what? It's fine. Okay. So I'm going to set this to the same value. And yes, we'll have to work on this event down there, because I think this is going over. Yeah. Okay. So let me edit that. Let's deduct it from there. And we have to add a little bit, because otherwise that room is not going to have any. Okay, that just made that divide stronger. There is a bear with you? Wait, what? Black, brown, khaki, tan, sand. BBKTS? I don't know. Okay, you guys are having a great conversation there. That's absolutely fine. I'm not going to get involved there. I'm going to try and figure out what's going on here. Why is it darker there? I understand that's the dual overlap. Okay, so I need to do another brush in here that is the same as that brush there. Okay, I'm just experimenting here. Yeah. Okay. Could it be Christine? Listen here, you. Yeah, you. Little bit darker, and you're not unnamed. You're gonna just sit there. Behave. By Jiminy Cricket. I think this might just work. Let's just lock down all of that in that room. Thank you. That's the wave. That's this one. I'm going to move that there. I think he's done it, by George. I think that's a lot more effective. What do you guys think? It could be the wall shadow. Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was just trying to match up. So those waves are now starting to really kick in there, and now we can see that this shimmering water, I think, can be reduced even more. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Okay, now we can lock that down. We can lock the rock face down. We don't need to touch any of that again. Okay, so with a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of coffee making, you see, this is why coffee is so important. And, you know, it is the business end of life. If I do that, yes, there we go. Okay, I'm thinking this looks a lot better. Maybe, to be honest, I think the yerks is where I got the phobia from. Okay, that's something else. That's fine. Yeah, I think it's a great effect for a lagoon, says Mac Bluff. Good. Okay, glad you're on the same page. It looks spectacular. Thanks, Phoenix. I do appreciate that. Okay, good. Yes, we are happy. We are happy. I'm happy. I feel fine. Now it's just a case of going in and just adjusting these rooms so they don't look so retarded in terms of their space. Let's bring this over here. Now, again, because this is generic for anybody to use. Ordinarily, I'd put a great big treasure chest in the middle of this sand dune and make it so that, you know, the players want to go there and explore and all that kind of wonderful stuff. I'm not going to do that specifically because I think that is really very misleading and controlling. It really is the notion of dictating what a GM should have in there. So I'm going to work in the little spaces. I'm just going to go. They've got bones here, which are quite fun. I'm going to make a skull. Now, if each of these blocks is 5 foot, 1, 2, 3, 4. The skull is not 4 foot wide. Yeah, okay, so that's a bit better. So maybe just to give them a little hint that there's danger or that there could be some trouble in here, we're going to just pop in a broken skeleton. Something like that. You could say he has swimmer's shoulders. Or she. Or they. I mean, we don't know. I think this is still too big because that makes them, they're going to be like 10 foot long. Tall, I suppose would be the right verbiage. Is that a bit better for a chest? Yeah, I think so. Drop that down there, and then this. It's a bobblehead! Oh my god, a bobblehead died down here! Okay, I can see that working. Let's keep going through there, and we're going to just mess up bits of it. Would you please mirror your hand? Where the hell is the hand now? Okay, that's cool. Put that sort of there. And then a good old femur or two to sort of show it's been scattered a bit. Shin bone, thigh bone, all those wonderful odds and sods. Oh, we could put in a little joke. We're going to put in a little joke, all right? Well, I mean, it's not a laughing matter. It's not something that one should laugh about, unless it's funny. I think this is funny. You'll see what I'm going to do now. So this is something that I do personally enjoy doing. Let's put that there, and the other arm is sort of messed up around here somewhere. I do enjoy throwing in little bits of humor into my maps that you'll only find if you are exploring and looking at them. And it's just for me. It is literally just for me. And it, you know, it's yeah. We're gonna give him a peg leg. So I'm gonna go and find a thing that looks like a peg leg. Could be Pirates has got the prow, or what do they call it? The it's a bow tip. So it could work for a peg leg. It might be too. It might get too small, or might not get small enough, as in this case. Yeah. I'm going to plop it down because we can always use the brush tools now to change that. I'm trying to think of... I think Pirates does have a peg leg asset. It doesn't, no. But is it dragons? They've got spikes. Wait a minute. Wait just a minute. That could be a peg leg, couldn't it? I mean, it's not a very fancy peg leg. It's a bit long. It's too long, isn't it? You know, when you have these daft ideas and you just think it could be cool. Oh, I did want to try this sea foam. This came out long ago. Too much? I think it could be a bit too much. Actually, I don't think that's terrible. Could this act as the divider? Nah. Too much there. Anyway, back to our skeleton. Let's see. That's not a bad peg leg. What about a peg elder brain? Oh dear, oh dear. Oh no, I see. I can prove that you are cursed. I'm back. That's pretty humorous. Oh my goodness gravy. Okay, you know, sometimes you just have to realize when it's a bad idea or it's not a possible idea. That's they have a cannon stopper. Which, yes, is a little bit big, but that's at 100%. If I shrink this all the way down, well, I'd be damned if that doesn't look like a peg leg to me. All I'm going to do, just to... No. Come on. No. Oi. I don't want the frickin' room. I want the contents in the room, okay? Is just pump up the saturation, darken it down a little bit so we're getting a bit more detailing. There you are. Okay, and then I'm just going to do it. It's a ramrod for a cannon. So there we are. And then they've got under decoration, they've got like a few coins. Just a few gold coins. I mean, we'll put that in his hands. You know, he died for a few gold coins. And I don't think anybody is going to see these gold coins down here in the dark. Or on this map. Okay, I really don't think anyone's going to see that in there. So I'm not unhappy with this as it stands. We're getting there. I feel like this anchor is just irritating me. So it's gone. I do feel like this room could do with some detailing. So that would be something to look at. But overall, I think we're pretty much there in terms of creating this map. Well, certainly in terms of bringing this map to life. Except we're not. Haha. We are not. So, we have to do lighting. And lighting is an incredibly powerful tool. It will literally make these rooms explode in terms of the color. It really will. Good night, Phoenix, if you're heading off. Thank you for the raid and for being here. So now we're going to add in some lighting. And the challenge with lighting is that doorways and things used to behave quite badly. Now they behave better. So with lighting, I always create an actual flame. I just use fire. I'm going to go with the green light for now. And if I pop that in, remember, if you weren't here for the beginning of the stream, we changed the ambient light of our stage down to 75%. Okay? The room will explode, yes. AK Writer says, how about a few rocks to the northern side of the cave as a way of adding rocky slope surface? Yeah, we can. We can. I want to play around with the lighting first and just see what we get. So I've selected the light. I will drop its opacity down to like 22. Eventually, I'm going to drop its opacity down to 0, so I won't leave it around. But I'm going to do that for now. Maybe it needs to be a bit greener and definitely not that intense. So I'm going to drop this down all the way down. It's just about giving us the illusion of light, and 7 is too much. 3 is too small. So let's do something like that, and let's see. We're gonna need a light source. I think everybody here agrees. We're going to need something that is giving us this light. Where is this light coming from? This is the source of that light. So we had the idea of glowing snails. And of that sort of thing. We don't have snails within Dungeon Fog, sadly, but we certainly could find something, I'm sure. Sci-fi. In Twitch, they're busy talking about the peg leg having value or being magical. And Saibai said, I have at least 2 players who would cut their own legs off to attune to that peg leg. Yeah. Volkadog, glowing wolf eyes from behind some bushes. In an underwater aquatic cave. How about no? But glowing dolphin eyes. Now, that could be a thing. A glowing gold that turns into a snail. Yes, damn it, I like it. That way, your money protects itself, it does. Just make sure that your thieves are particularly slow. Right, so glowing stuff. We need to add in some glowing stuff. You've never heard of sea dogs? Oh my god. You're fired, Volkadog. You are fired. You see, this is what happens when your significant other jumps onto the stream. Right, so we are going to add in some glowing stuff. Luminescent sea stars. Maybe the classic mushroom. You know? Now, AK Writer, you've given me an idea. These starfish that we put down there. Let's test it. Let us test it. So we're going to go back to pirates. We're going to go and find the starfish. Because if it's not the starfish, it could be the shells. Someone else was suggesting the shells, I believe. I think sea dogs need to be canon now, sci-fi. A zombie baby kraken. Oh, a little kraken. A krakenlet. A cracklet. Not sure if that's allowed to be said aloud on stream. So, just a thought. Right? Just a thought. We have a starfish. We inject the starfish with bioluminescent algae. Oh, the glowing starfish of doom. Okay, yeah, let's just tone it down there a little bit, starfish. Let's just tone it way the fudge down. Let's bring that down to about there. And then what color would the starfish glow? Would it be the orange? Would it be the same sort of orangey color as the other starfish? Do they glow in different colors? Holy starfish, Batman! Blue. Blue says thunder. Yeah, blue is not bad because it kind of... But does it... So let's make the starfish blue. Oh, that's kind of an interesting effect. I'm just not convinced. Most bioluminescent species glow blue. There we go. Okay, so... I will fix the lighting, don't worry. Some of these should be turned off. So you get turned off as a shadow, as a light source. You probably get reduced. That was the only thing that's the only thing actually. So let's turn you back on again. But let's reduce you down. We're going to zoom out in a little bit. I just want to see what we think in terms of this look of our glowing starfish. Is that weird? Does it feel too Disney? I don't know. Is World Anvil as comprehensive as Roll20? Justin Wright, you asked that question. Well, so World Anvil is not a VTT, which is what Roll20 is. So there is that to bear in mind. Are we saying this blue is the wrong color blue? You want it to be darker? Am I moving the right thing? Yes, I am. Because there's a whole bunch of little... I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Thunder Sparks Speaks says not to Disney at all. Mac Bluff says, do you like theater? I thought I recognized something you said from a musical I heard a while back. Yeah, I like theater. I'll raise my hand. I like listening to it. I don't like watching it because I used to direct live shows and theater was one of those things. So I like close-ups. So it's not too Disney, but the contrast is pretty sharp. Yeah, I think that's because of this light source in the middle. He said, there we go. If we change this to being more bluish, yeah, we actually move it over here. We can actually extend its range out a bit. And that could account for that. If we move that out, sort of drop it there. Drop it there. Drop one in there. Should there be different colors? I'm not sold. I won't lie to you. I'm not sold. I think it's because they're all the same shape. You know, they're all straight on, sort of flat. Red, says Lucian Wayne. Smoking Gun, good morning from Texas. Well, how you doing? The starfish are so blue. Okay, yeah, let's play around with that idea. I will come back to you, little starfish, because you're irritating me right now. What if there were variations of this blueness? More of a duck egg color. Yeah, that could work. And a paler blue to look more crystalline. Okay, well, let's go in here. So they're definitely paler. I agree with you. See, the black outline remains just as strong. That's just what Dungeon Fog does. Purple undertone, purple lighting. Maybe I went the wrong color blue. I think this blue is more bioluminescent in color, but maybe it should be in different intensities. So like the little starfish, you know, it's definitely blue. For these starfish, for the bigger starfish, it's a tired color maybe. Does it feel like they are glowing is the question, I guess, that needs to be answered. So I have been varying the intensity of the light sources. Yes, Belroth, you are absolutely right. Absolutely right. Look, I think it's definitely a lot better by having changed up the intensity of the light. The idea of putting a stone, I think, certainly could work. Certainly could work. So something else that we'll do here, I'm just going to quickly duplicate. Oh, whoa, and just rotate. You know, so we've got a few little clusters. It's supposed to be a mysterious grotto, so this is pretty damned mysterious. All these glowing starfish, right? And then, as you say, we are missing some stalactites. So stop the lighting. Oh, I love these little seashells. These are absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to throw in one just for fun. Let's drop it in there. What are we doing? Stalactites. What am I looking for? Stalactites. Yes, that's in cave. Cave, thank you. What's the time? Oh, +3. There we go. So we could do... I feel like it would have to be right at the edge of the chamber. So like that. That. Maybe a little. Okay, and then we select the stalagmite and we say cast shadow. Yeah, the problem is they are quite funny in terms of how they calculate where the strongest light is. So if we want them to look like they're casting a shadow, this light here has to go away somewhere. That's pretty good. What do we think of that? That's not terrible. And if I darken this light down a little bit, that could work. So Lucian D. Wayne has actually asked a very good question. How do you decide on the positioning? Random, or do you have some logic to it? So there is definitely logic to... no, let me rephrase. I attempt to use logic when I can. And I have a phone call. Who is this person? Unknown number. I will be back. This is live, so I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. It was an important phone call. Okay, so yes, let's go back to that question about logic in terms of placement. Yes, there are two things. There are two things that I look for in terms of placement. One, in this case, we're looking for placement to indicate that the starfish are glowing. So that's an important one. But two, I also look at so it's demonstrative, or in the film industry it would be called a practical. So it's a practical light. So we need to show that it's glowing. The second thing that I do is I place things so that characters can hide behind them. I'm a big believer in rewarding players for going, well, this terrain looks like I should be able to hide behind it. So I'm going to hide behind it. I'm going to, use it to obscure myself from the baddies. I firmly believe that is something that you should build into your map. So a lot of my maps will have little hidey holes, little secret places they can go and disappear into. Because I think that's something that should definitely be players should be rewarded for that sort of behavior. I think it's just good role playing, basically. I'm just going to dump a few of these little gems into these chambers so they're not so empty. Now, the underwater chambers could, in theory, have these little stalactites. No, that's not. You see, so here, placing it here, I want to place it here, but it's going to block up that entranceway too much. So I'm going to do this instead. Just fit it in on that corner there. So we've got a bit of a hide back there. The more I look at these starfish, the more they're kind of growing on me. I have to admit it. I think it's kind of working. Maybe we need to be a bit more playful with their positioning. So there's like one on that stone there. That starts to work. I don't know. Guys, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this cave of sorts? It is supposed to be mysterious. Why put the starfish above the water? Imagine you are in a cave and the light only comes from below the water. Well, that is perfectly valid. That is a perfectly valid question. And there's only one way to answer that. And that is to quite literally, we're in this room. Let's go to contents. What we're going to do is we're going to make a folder, and we call that folder starfish. Right, there you are. And not that starfish. But all of these little starfish, you are all going into the folder called starfish. Because otherwise I will be going mad. Okay, all the starfish are now in the folder. We want it to go under the sea foam and the water bubbles, the water rings, the water waves, the actual unnamed water. Okay, so the starfish are now in the right position. So now, 9. I should now be able to grab the starfish and sort of litter them about. I'm looking at those 3 there. Okay, and then this one. You can kind of go in there. Where's that other light source? Small fire, small fire, small fire. Where is the small fire? Small green fire. What are you guys thinking? Is it working? If the cave fills with a tide, there would be some in the dry areas, yeah. Maybe some artificial statue or something that makes no immediate sense to the adventurers. Yeah, so the starfish are now in the water. One thing I could also do is lower this down. So that glow is a bit more prominent. Touch that one up a little bit. Don't need to do that one. I think this one, not that one, this one. See how powerful lighting is. It's very pretty and I like it a lot, says Sidebite. I like it, but that was my idea. Yep, Lance Pickett, this is good. Which tool is this? Flamed Edge. This is Dungeon Fog. Dungeonfog.com is the tool that I'm using. Okay, so I agree. I like this kind of weird blue glowing starfish thing. I think that's very atmospheric. Having said that, we do need some normal light in here. Otherwise, it's just going to be a very dark map. So I'm now going to come in here. We don't need the stack anymore. And we are going to close that up and go to fire. And I'm just going to choose a regular fire, drop that in there. Okay, don't worry. This is all part of the plan. Okay, so this is just to warm up the sand, basically. And it'll create the illusion that this blue light is actually throwing out a little bit more light than it actually is. It also helps create just a little bit of you see, that's too bright in there. It just warms up sections of the map so that there's just, so we'll put one over the skeleton, for example, and it just highlights the map pieces, if you like. Might be a bit unnatural, but for me, that's the function of the map. Yes, is definitely to give a sense of purpose and drama and functional technical capacity. But I think it's also about making sure that it is about creating visually interesting spots of light, some a little bit wider or a little bit brighter than others. Maybe this needs to be more green. No. I will find you and kill you. So let's go back to our green light. Okay, definitely too strong. But we'll tone it down and we'll reduce its efficacy. Okay. So we're getting that sense there. And I think when you now step back and you look at that, you're going, that's a pretty damned dramatic looking map, if I do say so myself. Everyone who's asking what program this is, www.dungeonfog.com, and if you use the code GREATGM, you get a discount if you want to get a subscription. Okay, you can use it free, but I think you can only then have 3 maps and you get certain assets that you can and can't use. I'm pretty happy with this. There's one last effect which we might want to play with, just to finish off the sense of what's going on in this map. And that is called reflection. Oh, well, there's also smoke, which I haven't used on my other maps, but sometimes, bear with me, I'm making this huge, okay? Sometimes this works. Let's put it on this side. Oh, because that's the end of the room. No, I don't like that top one. But I do quite like the bottom one. Now, what am I doing? So to check the print, I always zoom into 40% just to see. This little starfish is being very bright. Don't make me go and look for this fire. This straight line here I'm not happy with. And that's because of this light. Okay, the light is too bright. There we go. Okay. Oh yes, there is another technique that I have forgotten about. Smoke doubling as mist from the damp cave. Yeah, great. Now it's a layer of a foglet. Witcher 3, yeah. Of course, it's good, AK, and the rest of us help. Lance Pickett. Yes, there we go. Okay, how about light actually coming from a hole in the ceiling? Well, unless we actually show a hole in the ceiling somehow, it would just look like a weird light. I mean, we could, but I don't think that's really the. I don't think it's going to be worth the effort. Let's put it that way. I think there's enough light in there. So what we can now do is these shafts of light. It's so subtle. It might not even. And then I'd have to do one here. I mean, it's almost not even visible. It looks awful on that one. I was just trying. I mean, if we wanted to, we could put this sort of broken statue in here. But again, I think that's too prescriptive for what people are looking for this map to do. To be honest with you, is this is meant to be a map that the GM could use as a mermaid cave, or as a this, or as a that. It's meant to be obscure. But what we do want is blood. Now, I use this on most of my maps. I use the Victorian blood. Okay. And all I do is just come in here. I will have to move it in the stack. I forgot to do it. Remember the process I was talking about? Okay, so I'm going to just plop down some blood there. Grab this, and we do that. And sometimes we do that, and then we make it disappear. Almost disappear. And we expand it up a little bit. And we shrink it down a little bit. And we drop it into that room. And we drop it into the passageway. Make it a bit darker in the passageway. Okay. And we'll drop one in there. And shrink this one down. Maybe like that. It's a minor discoloration effect. And for me, it just makes it just so much more, I don't know, not visually interesting. It just adds some variation which our wonderful human eyes can see. And I like it. But we are talking literally 2 or 3 degrees worth of change. And that's it. Okay. So, with most of your maps, one can say, just give me the bloody map. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Absolutely. Most viewers might not even see it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Save. Now that we're happy, we should save. Yes, we should. Yeah, most won't. Most won't. I mean, you're really only just seeing it. I don't know if you can see it on the stream. Just extra little highlights in there. So, yeah, very, very subtle. And the same with the starfish, is you wouldn't really even notice some of these starfish are giving off light until you realize, oh, hang on a moment, that is actually where the light's coming from. Oh, I need a starfish. Give me a starfish. You are not bonded to anything. I need a starfish here. Well, I was hoping that was going to get rid of that very strong edge there. And this stalagmite, this sliver of light might be dramatically interesting, but that's better, I think. All right. One last thing. If we really wanted to get fancy, just try something, which I think is always a good thing. Just for fun, let's close this up. And dragon head, dragon skull, rotate it around. Okay, don't think I've gone mad just yet. Okay, I have gone mad. No. Nah. I was thinking of making it look like a fossil embedded in the rock, but I don't think so. All right, folks, I'm going to put a fork in it and declare that this map is done. So there you are. The only thing that we might play around with, we might then say, okay, well, let's drop this down to 40%. Let's make it 40. And the room has to be 40 as well. I honestly think that's just too dark. And I don't think the lighting effect is that much better. So I'm going to go 50, 50, enter. right? And then this grid, we can drop that down to like 6%. So, I mean, even at 6%, it's still quite strong. You definitely can still see it. This inverted one sometimes makes it more interesting. Nah, I don't think so. So there we are. I give credit to everybody in the stream. You all helped in one shape, form, or another in terms of suggestions. So don't you worry. We are all in this together. I think that's a pretty good map. It's got little rooms, little chambers that people can muck around in and do their thing in. Why is this glowing? What did I do? Could just be a function of the map. Hopefully I haven't broken anything. What about 70%? Better or worse? No. Okay. Alrighty then. So that's where we are. That's what we have managed to achieve today. These values aren't different, are they? 70, 70. No. Okay. I think it's just we're reaching the limit here. Yeah, there's all sorts of artifacts creeping in. Okay, cool. I will save this and get out of here. Folks, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for being here for this whole stream. This was insane in terms of you guys joining me. I did not expect it. I really appreciate it. Check out social media on Thursday. I will be doing another map and streaming along. I might already be in progress on that map somewhere as well. So bear that in mind. But yes, I look forward to seeing you again. Otherwise, tonight, my role-playing game, The Talisman Adventures, the Nevermore campaign, kicks off on my YouTube channel. And that's the How to Be a Great GM YouTube channel. So have a look at that. And then tomorrow night is the live session of From the Shadows Born, my live role-playing game. And that's at 7 p.m. UTC. So have a look at that if you want to see some crazy, crazy stuff going on. The players have encountered a giant army of giants. Anyway, from me and the channel, I wish you and yours the very happiest of gaming.